Chapter 24:18. Every time, Phantom King could only fly for the time for one breath to cover a distance of thousands of miles. He had used up more than half of the spring water. Entering the core area of the blasted land, Luli saw more palaces. But all of them had been destroyed. Dilapidated walls were everywhere. Only a small number of palaces were intact. Some of the palaces still had glowing runes. Many must have died here. Bones were everywhere. This sect must have had many powerful warriors. Many bones were glowing in a white glow. Only super powerful warriors could have such bones. The deeper Luli went, the more palaces he saw and the more bones he saw. It was said that this sect had over 1 million disciples. Judging by the looks of it, it was true, and many of them were powerful warriors. Along the way, Luli did not pay attention to his surroundings. Instead, he paid attention to what was behind him. He was afraid that Dan Jioding would catch up with him. Dan Jioding had consumed the super elixir and was so strong. It was possible that he would take the risk. Whoosh! Soon, Luli heard some noises behind him. Dan Jioding was catching up at a horrifying speed. Even though Phantom King could fly at full speed every time, he had to come in to tend to his wound. Naturally, he could not be fast. He is catching up. Luli thought about it. It would be difficult to rely on the scroll. Dan Jioding was too strong. He must be more powerful than the fifth tribulation. Even if the scroll could withstand one strike, wouldn't Dan Jioding use other attacks? At this critical moment, Luli thought quickly. He realized that he could not win on his own. He had to rely on other forces. He quickly released his divine will and scanned the nearby palaces. Got it! Soon, Luli's eyes glowed. He found a palace that was glowing with runes. He could use the runes to stop Dan Jioding. Luli told Phantom King to take him into the palace. Almost at the same time, Blood Fairy reached out her tentacle and reached into the runes in the palace. Luli put away Phantom King and let the distant heaven bead float in the palace. Dan Jioding dashed over. He snorted at Luli when he saw him dashing into the palace. However, when he was about to enter the palace, the runes in the palace suddenly glowed. Dan Jioding was stunned. As soon as Luli entered, he could control the runes here? The divine inscriptions here were extremely powerful. Would he be in danger if he entered? After hesitating for a moment, the divine inscription flashed again, and the palace doors actually closed. A blue barrier of light appeared outside the palace. Dan Jioding's complexion turned unsightly. His hesitation had caused him to miss the best opportunity. If he had rushed in just now, he would have had the chance to kill Luli. Anyone would have done the same. This place was full of mysteries, and so was Luli. Anyone would have hesitated. Who would have thought that Luli could control the runes in the palace so quickly? Boom! This time, Dan Jioding didn't hesitate. He took out his spear and the white bead and attacked the palace. Qin Wentian didn't believe it. This palace had been preserved for so many years, and the divine inscriptions on it shouldn't have much energy left. Its defense shouldn't be too strong, and he should be able to easily break it open, right? Blood Fairy, you're amazing! In the palace, Luli could not help but exclaim. As soon as Blood Fairy came in, she could solve the runes here. It had only been the time for 2 to 3 breaths. Blood Fairy's attainments in runes were improving fast. And this is because of the ancient treasures, Master. Blood Fairy was not arrogant. She said, the divine inscriptions in those ancient treasures are impressive. I didn't learn many of them, but they have improved my understanding of runes. Master, don't be too happy. The runes here are not strong. I don't think they can last for the time for half an incense stick to burn. The time for half an incense stick to burn? That's enough. Luli was excited. The time for half an incense stick to burn was short. But where was this place? This was the core of the cursed land. Every second was weakening people's abilities. Dan Jioding had consumed some elixirs, but how many top-level ones did he have? The average ones here were not of much use. Boom, boom, boom. Outside, Dan Jyoding kept attacking. And here, the divine inscriptions kept glowing. The glow was fading, but he could not break it open. Dan Jyoding was trembling in anger. He was regretting. Almost all the elixirs in his body had been consumed. As time went on, his abilities would weaken as well. If he could not break it open after a long time, Luli wouldn't even have to attack him. Dan Jyoding would be so weak that he couldn't even lift the spear. Boom, boom, boom. Dan Jyoding used all kinds of means, including 3 artifacts. Together with the spear, his chi and energy were weakening. It was no longer possible to tell that he was a warrior of the 5th tribulation. He was at the peak of the 4th tribulation. Boom! Finally, the divine inscriptions in the palace were broken. However, Dan Jyoding's chi and energy were weakened again. He was only comparable to a warrior at the later stage of the 4th tribulation. When he was about to rush out, Master of Spectre came out with the separated heaven bead and stopped in front of him. Go to hell! Luli dashed out from the separated heaven bead, and so did the daughter of Saint King. Luli had the relic iron in one hand and the scroll in the other. There were many worms of the void flying out. Dan Jyoding's heart skipped a beat. Luli had initiated the attack and Dan Jyoding was weakened. Naturally, he was not confident. That being said, Dan Jyoding reacted quickly. He took out 4 or 5 artifacts and stabbed at Luli with his spear again. Hoi! Luli pushed the scroll forward and the spear went in again. Another treasure flew in as well. What was more, after the artifact flew in, the spiritual connection disappeared. Dan Jyoding was losing his patience. The scroll could store treasures? Buzzing, Luli's interspatial ring glowed. Then, a saber engraved with ancient divine inscriptions appeared. Dan Jyoding was taken aback. How did Luli have so many ancient artifacts? The scroll was already so impressive. Could the saber be even more impressive? Retreat! Dan Jyoding was scared. He pulled out the spear and stepped back quickly. He was thousands of miles away in an instant. Luli was relieved. He was shrouded in the brown haze. He was so weak that he could barely lift his saber. Buzzing, he dashed back into the separated heaven bead at once and put away the daughter of Saint King as well. He told Master of Spectre to gulp down some spring water and then rushed out with the separated heaven bead. As for the worms of the void, Luli had no time to collect them. What to do? Dan Jyoding was in a dilemma. He had no more elixirs. He would die here if he stayed any longer. With every passing breath, he would be weaker. It was unrealistic for him to go after Luli. Retreat! Dan Jyoding was a decisive man. He sped up to the top of his speed and rushed out of the blasted land. He planned to wait outside the blasted land. He did not believe that Luli could stay in there forever. In the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Dan Jyoding was out. However, he trembled and almost fell to the ground. He sat down cross-legged and took out some godly medicine to recover. At the same time, he ordered the spirit-chasing race's people, "Take my token and go to the nearby Chen clan. Gather 100,000 soldiers and surround the cursed land." Chapter 24:19. Dan Jyoding left. Luli exhaled in relief. He made sure that there was nobody around and decided to stay to recover. He had been out for a while and he felt he had lost all his strength. Now that he was back, he couldn't even move his fingers. While he was resting, he did not let his guard down. He kept checking the outside with psychic power. The Saint King's daughter was recovering as well. The haze was too thick. She had been recovering for such a long time, but she was still dispirited after going out for a while. 1 day, 2 days, 5 days. Nothing happened outside. Luli's wounds had recovered a bit and so had his energy. That being said, he seemed to have used up too much of his life energy. His face was pale and he was not in good spirit. Luli felt better after he consumed a pellet he got from the Saint King's daughter that could replenish his life energy. That being said, it would take him at least half a year to recover completely. Life energy had to be replenished gradually. Dan Jioding hadn't been attacking. It seemed that he could not hold on much longer. Luli could not put his mind at ease. He would not rest until he could leave this place. 5 more days. By then, I should be more than half healed and I can fly through the void. Luli thought about it and went back to his recovery. It was so quiet that it was frightening. For Luli, he could cultivate in a more horrifying place, let alone in a place like this. Time moved on. 5 days passed quickly. Dan Jioding had been out all this time. But the outside of the blasted land was crowded with people. The Churn clan was very respectful, mobilizing 100,000 soldiers to surround the cursed land. No matter which direction they tried to break out of, they would be intercepted by the cultivators. Many patriarchs of the Churn family came as well. Luli would be stopped by patriarchs no matter where he tried. Given Dan Jioding's speed, it wouldn't take him long to get there. By then, Luli would be doomed. Dan Jioding would not ask the Churn family for help. He promised that he would owe the Churn family a favor. The Dan family was a family of emperors. A favor was valuable. Naturally, the Churn family would try their best. After such a long time, Luli had recovered a bit. At the very least, he wouldn't die in the void. He asked the Phantom King to take him away. He wanted to come out from the brown haze and then fly through the void. Within the brown fog, he would quickly become dispirited and listless. Perhaps he wouldn't even have the strength to enter the small golden door. The Phantom King went in for more than a dozen times and finally made it out of the brown area. Luli checked outside, but Dan Nine Lantern was not there. He was relieved. His body flashed and rushed out. Then, he immediately drew a formation in the air and prepared to use the void traversing technique to leave. Unexpectedly, he had just drawn an array formation in the void, and the moment the golden door congealed, the spatial zone nearby immediately trembled. Following that, the golden door collapsed. Collapsed? Luli blinked his eyes and then went back into the heaven's separation bead. He looked awful. If he couldn't fly through the void, he could only travel from the periphery. Dan Jioding was definitely outside the cursed land. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to fly through the void in time and would be smashed into pieces by Dan Jioding again. Forget it, let me recover from my injuries first. Luli shook his head. He closed his eyes and sat down with his legs crossed. He asked Blood Fairy to check the surroundings. He was exhausted and wanted to recover first. Soon, 15 days had passed. Luli's wounds were almost healed. Apart from the paleness of his face and the lethargy of his spirit, he was fine. The daughter of the Saint King had almost recovered as well. But it would take some time for her to recover to the peak. How? Luli looked at the water that was only half left in the pond. The Phantom King would not be able to use it for long. If he could not find a way out before the water ran out, he would be stuck. Should I go out and have a look? If there is a chance, I will fly through the void right away. Luli asked the Phantom King to control the heaven separation bead toward the periphery. Of course, he did not go the way he came in, but to the west. The Phantom King kept going in and out, taking the heaven separation bead with him to the periphery. In an hour, Luli arrived at the periphery. He used psychic power to check. His face was filled with bitterness. Just as he had expected, there was a team of warriors outside. Before Luli could get close, many people were swarming over, including 2 warriors of the Fourth Tribulation. At the same time, Luli heard a deep bugle call. The sound could travel far. Soon, many people were coming over. Dan Jioding would be here soon as well. Let's go, Luli told the Phantom King to step back and enter the blasted land. The Phantom King kept going in and out. By the time Dan Jioding arrived, Luli had already gone hundreds of thousands of miles into the blasted land. Dan Jioding checked and shouted, "Be careful. This bastard can break out at any time. Whoever can stall him for me will be rewarded with 10 billion divine stones after I kill him." Thank you, my lord. The warriors were cheered up. 10 billion divine stones could not be given to one person, but it was a lot. They were not required to risk their lives just to stall the Phantom King. The news spread out quickly. All the warriors were excited. They kept their eyes on the blasted land, as if the divine stones could fly out at any time. Let's go in and cultivate. Luli had no other choice. He decided to cultivate in the core area for a while. There seemed to be many people outside. They were not from the Shan family. The Shan family was far away. It was impossible for them to mobilize so many warriors in such a short time. If they were not from the Shan family, then they could not stay outside and guard for a long time. After all, he was safe in the heaven separation bead. He might as well cultivate for a while. It was unlikely that Phoenix Queen would come to hunt him down in person. I will find a safe place to hide and cultivate for a few years. Luli made up his mind. Since he could not run away, he had to hide here. Phoenix Queen would not come in person. If a lord of the Shan family came, then there was nothing he could do. Another thing was that he could figure out a way to let Blood Fairy take control of that scroll. That scroll was mysterious and powerful. If he could take control of it, he might have a chance to escape. Let's go. Having made up his mind, Luli told the Phantom King to rush into the core area. He used the trace of Tao and psychic power to check carefully. Luli walked around for a while, and the amount of spirit water was reduced by half. Finally, he found a big palace. The palace was magnificent. The divine patterns were still intact. This must be an important palace of this sect. This is it. Luli told the Phantom King to go in and then told Blood Fairy to take action. However, the divine patterns in this palace were powerful. It took Blood Fairy an hour to crack it. Buzzing, the divine patterns in the palace were activated. Blood Fairy checked and said, "The divine patterns in this palace are 10 times more powerful than the ones in the previous palace. It will take at least 10 days for that person to come." Okay. Luli nodded. If Shan Jiuding needed 10 days, then not even a lord could crack it in 1 or 2 moves. Luli still had a chance to escape. Blood Fairy, take control of the scroll and monitor the situation outside, Luli said and began to consume the elixirs. He had acquired so many that he wanted to consume them on a large scale. At the same time, he wanted to learn the dragon reaching skill and the formation of mystical sound. Life or death, I will leave it to fate. Luli did not want to overthink. It was pointless to think too much. He had to do his best and leave the rest to fate. Chapter 24:20. Half a year passed by in the blink of an eye. Luli stayed in the palace and did not come out. Dan Jiuding did not go in either. His vitality was damaged and he was advanced in age. Before he recovered, he would not dare to go in. The Chun family was losing patience. After all, this was not their business. They were purely here to help. The Chun family had a lot to deal with. They could not stay here forever. Dan Jiuding understood this as well. He told the patriarchs of the Chun family to leave. The Chun family showed mercy. 4 patriarchs stayed and the 100,000 warriors stayed. Only the important patriarchs left. As a matter of fact, with the soul chasers here, patriarchs or not, the soul chasers would be able to sense Luli's movements. Dan Jiuding would go as well. The soul chasers were impressive. They could sense Luli's movements from tens of millions of miles away. Luli had been cultivating in the palace. His wounds had been healed and his vitality had been restored as well. He didn't even pay attention to the outside world. He left everything to Blood Fairy. He focused on consuming divine energy, cultivating the dragon-reaching skill, and studying the law of sound. The spinning dragon technique was very difficult to cultivate, and the later stages, especially the latter half, were even more difficult. After all, this was a heaven-defying divine technique, created by the Violet Sovereign himself. This kind of skill was particularly difficult to learn because everyone's experience and way of thinking were different. Luli studied the dragon reaching skill for a month, but did not make much progress. He switched to the law of sound, and another month later, he began to study the dragon reaching skill, taking turns. In this way, he would not feel tired and it would be easier to learn. During the half a year, he consumed more than 100 miraculous herbs. He made no progress with the dragon reaching skill. He did make some progress with the law of sound, but it was still a long way off. The law of sound was powerful. Back in the days, it caused a great disturbance at the sea of sound. It was impossible to easily comprehend such a powerful divine sound law. No matter how talented one was, they would still need time. The consumption of many miraculous herbs had improved Lu Li's physical body. That being said, there was still a long way to go before he could cultivate a supreme body. Back in the days, Emperor Z was the strongest in the third plane. How many third plane warriors were there? Relying on his physical body and several skills, Emperor Z could defeat many emperors. How strong was his physical body? If the Violet Emperor did not die, it was said that there was still hope for him to break through to the Saint Emperor realm. Therefore, even though Lu Li's physical strength had been improving, he still had a long way to go to complete the supreme divine body. According to the crippled Zen master, Lu Li was still at the first stage. There were always 3 stages to the supreme divine body. There would be a very obvious sign when one entered the second stage, and the lightning tribulation would fall on its own. If one day Lu Li was struck by lightning, then he would enter the second stage. The third stage was even more terrifying. There would be godly punishment. According to what the crippled Zen old man had said, when the Violet Emperor entered the third stage, a crater appeared in a radius of 10,000 miles around him. The crippled Zen master didn't say what would happen to Lu Li when he achieved the supreme body. Lu Li had a long way to go. The crippled Zen master did give Lu Li some guidance. He told Lu Li that if he wanted to have a supreme immortal body, he must not only rely on elixirs. He must go to many dangerous places to refine his body and undergo the refinement of heaven and earth. Back then, the Violet Emperor had entered countless dangerous places before he finally achieved the supreme god physique. Lu Li did not think too much about what happened next. As long as he could arrive at the Dragon Rebel Valley safely, meet Lu Ling, and take care of the Asmodean Lord, nothing else mattered to him. Whether he could achieve the supreme god physique or not was not important. Nothing happened outside, but Lu Li did not let his guard down. He believed that Dan Jioding would not wait like this. It was very likely that he would send a message back to his family and ask for reinforcements. Lu Li stopped. After a day's sleep, he woke up and asked Blood Fairy, "How is it going?" "Not yet." Blood Fairy replied, "This scroll is powerful, times more powerful than the horn. The ancient patterns are dozens of times more complicated as well. Master, don't worry. Let me study the ancient patterns for a while. With the help of several treasures, it will be fast. I cannot tell how long it will take. It will depend on the progress. It might take 1 or 2 years or decades or centuries." Lu Li was speechless. If it were hundreds of years, what would be the use of the ancient treasures? That being said, the scroll could still be used even though it had not been consumed. Even one of Dan Jioding's treasures had been put into the scroll. Lu Li just did not know how to take it out. If this picture scroll could store treasures, then it would be amazing. In the future, all of the enemy's saint weapon fragments and weapons could be stored in it. The enemy's combat strength would definitely be greatly reduced. Most importantly, the enemy would be caught unprepared. Blood Fairy, can you reach out with your real body? Will it also become very weak? Lu Li asked. Blood Fairy answered, I can. It will affect me a little. But my real body is a soul, so it will not affect me much. It will affect me a little, but I will be fine as long as I don't stay here for too long. Okay. Don't consume it yet. Lu Li said, Go and have a look around, an area with a radius of 300,000 miles. See if there is any place that can benefit us. If there are lords from our enemies, we can run. Okay. Blood Fairy snuck out from the body of the daughter of Saint King and went underground to check. Luli did not want to check. After all, this was a ruin of a major sect. There were no treasures here, and there might not be any good places. If there were treasures, they would have been taken away. It was said that a powerful warrior of the great Emperor realm once came here. Blood Fairy went to check. Luli closed his eyes and continued to consume the elixirs. 3 days later, Blood Fairy returned. Her aura was a little weak, but it wasn't too much. Master, Blood Fairy replied, I found 2 strange places. One of them is underground and there should be treasures there. The runes are very powerful. The other is formations of destruction. I cannot crack them yet. I think it will take me over 100 years to crack them. Luli was shocked. Blood Fairy was skilled in the study of patterns. She solved the patterns in the palace almost instantly. How could the ones underground be so powerful? Blood Fairy explained, it's not that the divine patterns are especially powerful. It's just that the divine patterns underground are not death divine patterns but living divine patterns. I feel that there are tomb guards controlling the divine patterns underground. That's why it's so difficult to decipher them. Maybe the tomb of a master of a major sect is underground. I can sense some powerful energy in there. There must be treasures. Well, never mind. Let him be. It would take 100 years to crack the patterns. Luli could not wait that long, and Dan Jioding would not give him the time. Luli asked, what about the other strange place? A lake of blood and a sea of ghosts. Blood Fairy answered, to the north there is a lake filled with blood. I can sense many remnant souls at the bottom of the lake. That might be the core of the cursed land. I do not dare to get close to the bottom of the lake. There must be many remnant souls in there. Many remnant souls have devoured each other. They must have mutated and become powerful souls. In the mortal world, they are called malicious ghosts. Malicious ghosts? Luli was surprised. Then, he laughed. Speaking of which, Spectre in the Bead of Ghosts was a malicious ghost. He could even control malicious ghosts to kill his enemies. Why should he be afraid of ghosts? Let's go and take a look. Luli had an idea. There were so many remnant souls and malicious ghosts in there. He could put Spectre in. Maybe Spectre could become more powerful after devouring them. Chapter 24-21. The Lake of Ghosts and Lake of Blood was not far away, only tens of thousands of miles away. That being said, it took the Phantom King some time to get there, and he consumed some spirit spring water. The Lake of Ghosts and Lake of Blood was not large, only with a radius of a couple of miles. Luli used psychic power to check and saw nothing but blood. It did not seem like the lake was dyed red. It was more like the lake was made of blood. Before Luli got closer, he already felt something was wrong. The light seemed to be dimmed, and it felt gloomy. As a matter of fact, the sky was not covered and the temperature did not drop. Still, it felt different from other places. There are so many ghosts. Luli used psychic power to check the lake. There were many remnant souls and ghosts. The bottom of the lake was more like the underworld. If Luli were to go down by himself, he would be frightened. After a while, Luli let out Phantom and asked him to see if he could devour the ghost. Last time, Phantom was injured by the might of the holy weapon fragment and had not recovered yet. Luli did not know if he would be in danger when he went down. Phantom approached from the edge and dashed into the lake. As soon as it got closer, it became excited. It dived in as soon as it touched the lake. Woo woo, but in just a moment, the ghostly shadow actually flew out of the blood lake, and below it, a green shadow chased after it. Blood Fairy said, Master, Phantom is no match for it. Help it or put it back into the bead of ghosts or it will be devoured. Luli was taken aback. He did not know that Phantom was so strong and yet it was at a disadvantage in one move. Help Phantom? How? He did not know soul attacks. Was he going to use the holy weapon fragment? Right, Dragon Soul. Luli remembered that Dragon Soul was strong. He could let Dragon Soul and Phantom work together. This ghost should not be much stronger than Phantom, or else Phantom would not be able to run away. Luli made up his mind. He decided to take the risk. Dragon Soul was much stronger than Phantom, and it should be able to fend off this ghost. He dashed out. The bead of ghosts glowed and Phantom dashed into Luli's body. Woo woo, that cyan shadow dashed in as well. Luli did not dare to stay any longer. He went into the separation bead at once and sat down to check his soul. The ghostly shadow rushed into Luli's soul, and so did the cyan shadow. The dragon's soul immediately shone brightly. What was different was that the dragon's soul did not attack the ghost shadow, but the malicious ghost behind it. The dragon's soul could protect its master automatically. Any soul energy with offensive properties would be attacked by the dragon's soul. Luli's soul would be fine as long as it was not harmed. The dragon's soul and ghost shadow attacked at the same time. Naturally, the ghost could not stand it anymore. It tried to run away, but it was trapped in Luli's soul. After the time for one incense stick to burn, it was devoured by the dragon's soul and ghost shadow. All right. Luli could feel that specter was clearly getting stronger. Luli's spirit was lifted. As the ghost shadow continued to devour, it would become stronger and stronger. In the end, all the malicious ghosts in the lake would be devoured. At that time, its strength would definitely increase greatly. He quickly controlled Ghostly Shadow to continue moving, and soon, he lured another malicious spirit up. He had no choice but to go out and lead the malicious spirit back into his body. This malicious ghost was inferior to the previous one, so it was quickly devoured by the dragon's soul and the ghostly shadow. The dragon's soul didn't devour much energy and was almost devoured by the ghostly shadow. After devouring two malicious ghosts in a row, the damage that ghostly shadow had suffered before was recovered, and it was almost at its peak combat power. Ghostly shadow dashed down again. There were no more powerful malicious ghosts nearby. Luli sensed with psychic power that ghostly shadow was devouring some small remnant souls and growing stronger. It didn't go to the deep sea. It just wandered around the periphery. This is good. Luli was relieved to sense that ghostly shadow was getting stronger. As long as ghostly shadow didn't go to the deepest part of the lake, then it wouldn't run into any powerful beings. Luli watched for more than 2 hours and then stopped worrying. Even though ghostly shadow had no consciousness, it knew to seek fortune and avoid danger. Ghostly shadow knew that it could not go to the bottom of the lake now. It could only devour wandering souls at the periphery and then go to the bottom when it was stronger. Luli cultivated for half a day. He checked with psychic power and was relieved to see that ghostly shadow was still devouring souls at the periphery. There were more than 100,000 wandering souls and malicious ghosts in the lake. Ghostly shadow would grow stronger as it devoured them. Luli thought of a possibility. It was possible that when the sect was on the verge of collapse, the remaining people were used as sacrifices by the master. Those people were melted alive, and their flesh and blood were used to form the core of the formation. Otherwise, how could there be so many remnant souls left? The lake was blood-red. If so, it would be easy to understand. Maybe, on this thought, Luli had an idea. Could he find a way to crack the blood lake? If so, would it mean that the core of the entire formation of the cursed land was cracked? Did that mean that he could fly through the void and leave? Luli shared his thoughts with Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy thought about it and said, "Is it the core of the blasted land? We can wait until Spectre devours all the ghosts and I can go down and have a look. But I don't dare to go now. Maybe when all the ghosts are gone, the formation will be easier to crack." Okay. Luli knew that he could not rush. He would have to wait until ghostly shadow devoured all the ghosts. He thought for a while and said, "Blood Fairy, go out. Throw the separated heaven bead into the blood lake, and then come back in. The atmosphere in the Blood Lake was strange. Luli was in the separated heaven bead. Even if enemies were to come, they would not be able to find him. It was better than floating in the air all by himself. Whoosh! Holy King's daughter dashed out and dashed into the Blood Lake with the separated heaven bead. Before the ghosts could come up, Holy King's daughter was taken back by Luli. Okay, focus on your cultivation. Go back to studying divine glyph. When you have time, keep an eye on the outside, Luli said. Then, he took out some elixirs to consume. He had obtained many elixirs in the Hall of Seven Sounds, enough for him to cultivate for years. If he had consumed the elixirs like this, he would have consumed them all in 1 or 2 years. While Luli was taking his time, Dan Jioding could not wait any longer. He knew that Luli had the separated heaven bead. Clearly, Luli was cultivating in the separated heaven bead. If Luli were to cultivate in the separated heaven bead for a decade or even hundreds of years, would they be waiting outside? Dan Jioding could wait, but would the Qin family warriors stay with him? Dan Jioding could not bring himself to ask for help. Therefore, Dan Jioding had to send a message back to report the situation and ask for help from the family. After all, Luli could not run away now. When the powerful warriors of the family came, they could work together to kill or capture Luli alive. As a matter of fact, Dan Jioding did not want to use the powerful warriors of the family. He wanted Luli's scroll very much. If the powerful warriors of the family came, say, a lord, then the scroll would not belong to him. Half a month later, the space here began to tremble. Then, a portal was opened. 5 powerful warriors swarmed out. Dan Jioding felt bitter when he saw the leader of the group. A great patriarch of the family was here. Dan Jioding would not have a share in the scroll. Chapter 24-22. In the Lake of Ghosts and Ghosts, Spectre had been devouring for half a month. Almost all the ghosts in the lake were gone. Only one powerful ghost and some wandering souls were left at the bottom of the lake. Spectre was so powerful that even Luli was worried. He was afraid that he could not control Spectre and it might backfire on him. Luli estimated that with Phantom's current ability, if he didn't have a 7th or 8th rank enchanted soul, he wouldn't even be able to stand it. Faster! Luli urged Spectre to kill the last ghost. Then, he could ask Blood Fairy to check the formation at the bottom of the lake and see if she could crack it. Woo woo! Spectre devoured the rest of the ghosts in the lake, and then dashed toward the most powerful ghost at the bottom. That ghost dashed out, roared, tangled with Spectre, and tried to devour each other. Luli had been observing with psychic power. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli felt relieved. Gui Ying's ability was stronger than that malicious ghost, so he had the upper hand. Okay. A moment later, Luli said to Blood Fairy, "There are no more powerful ghosts in the lake. You can go and check." Blood Fairy's true body rushed out to the bottom of the lake, where she began to investigate. Luli kept an eye on Spectre to make sure that nothing could go wrong. Blood Fairy was a soul. She wasn't afraid of physical attacks, but she was afraid of soul attacks. She was especially afraid of ghosts like these. Her main body did not have much combat power, and any powerful malicious ghost could devour her. Luli was in the Lake of Ghosts and Ghosts. The 5 powerful warriors were surrounded by a group of people. The Chun family warriors saw the 5 powerful warriors coming. One of them had an aura as vast as the sea. It was frightening. Plop! The warriors dropped to their knees at once. This was a sign of respect for the powerful warriors. The 4 patriarchs of the Qin family dropped to their knees as well. They were merely 4th tribulation warriors. Facing a lord, they were like little beasts facing the king of the beasts in the mountains. They were scared out of their nature. Rise! The 6th tribulation martial artist's white hair fluttered in the wind. His face was radiant, and he had a youthful complexion. He was in high spirits, and his eyes were like a tiger's. He landed and slightly nodded at Dan Jioding. Then, he looked at the Chen clan and said, "Get up. Our Dan clan has a close relationship with your Chen clan. There's no need to be so polite." The 4 elders of the Chen family stood up. One of them said, "Elder Jiu hasn't come out for many years. I didn't expect to see him again today. It's our honor." Elder Wine wasn't his real name. It was a nickname that had been given to him over the years because he loved wine as much as his life. Elder Wine cupped his hands towards Dan Jiuding and said, "Even the Lantern Ancestor has been dispatched, so it's normal for me to go as well. The Shan clan king personally ordered us to capture this kid. If he escapes, the Shan clan won't be able to afford to lose face." "Ah," the elder from the Chen family said with a smile, "even Elder Jiu has made a move. This brat will definitely die. Our men are surrounding him. He can't run." The spirit-chasing tribe had also sensed that he was inside. Did he think that they could not do anything to him just by hiding inside? Ah. Elder Jiu nodded again. He looked at Dan Jiuding and said, "Lantern Ancestor, how is it going? Tell us. We will go in and capture him later." Even though Elder Jiu called Dan Jiuding Lantern Ancestor, he didn't sound too respectful. The Shan family had many branches. Elder Jiu and Dan Jiuding were not from the same branch. Since Elder Jiu was powerful and enjoyed a high status in the family, he didn't need to show too much respect to him. "This kid is strange," Dan Jiuding explained. "On the surface, he is at the peak of the second tribulation realm. But he has cultivated the supreme immortal body. His physical strength alone is comparable to that of the fourth tribulation realm. He has a powerful puppet that is as powerful as the peak of the fourth tribulation realm. Also, he has a holy weapon shard and 2 ancient treasures. I almost took him down, but his primordial treasure stopped me." "Really?" Elder Jiu and the others were excited. The patriarchs of the Chen family were also intrigued. Of course, the Chen family didn't dare to do anything. The Chen family only had one powerful warrior of the Lord Realm, which was much weaker than the Shan family. Dan Jiuding told Elder Jiu about the 2 ancient treasures Luli had, focusing on the painting. Elder Jiu and the other 4 powerful warriors were even more interested. How could an unrefined ancient treasure be so powerful? Would it be more powerful than a sovereign weapon after it was refined? Many ancient treasures were powerful. Some were even more powerful than sovereign weapons. Of course, they were not as powerful as holy weapons. In the world, holy weapons were one of the most powerful treasures. That was because there was another kind of treasure that was nurtured by nature. There were less than 5 of them in the world. Of course, that kind of treasure could only be owned by powerful emperors. Unless the emperors were killed, no one else could have it. If the painting was as powerful as Dan Jiuding said, then Elder Jiu had made a fortune. Who would say no to more treasures? He didn't expect that a warrior at the peak of the second tribulation realm could have such a treasure. That being said, Phoenix Queen had given the order to hunt Luli down. "Okay, let's go in and have a look." Elder Jiu waved his hand and led the other 4 into the painting. Even though they had never been here before, they were not afraid. The former family patriarch had been here before. He went to the core area and came out with ease. This place was not particularly dangerous. At the very most, they would lose some life energy. They could go back and consume some elixirs. 5 people, 1 lord of the 6th tribulation and 4 warriors of the 5th tribulation, showed how much importance the Shan family had attached to this matter. Family patriarch of the Shan family had no other choice. The matter had been blown out of proportion. They could not let it end so anticlimactic. The Shan family and the entire godly Windland must be given an explanation. Otherwise, the Shan family would be disgraced. Therefore, after learning that Luli was in the Blasted Land, family patriarch of the Shan family asked Great Patriarch and the 4 powerful warriors to make sure that nothing could go wrong. Dan Jiuding didn't go in with them. For one thing, he had lost too much of his life energy. For another, he wouldn't be able to get anything. He might as well stay outside and monitor in case Luli ran away. Of course, Dan Jiuding didn't believe that Luli could get away this time. Elder Jiu had only reached the sixth tribulation a few thousand years ago. That being said, Elder Jiu was still a sixth tribulation warrior. As long as Elder Jiu could get close, Dan Jiuding believed that he could kill Luli with a single thought. As a lord, Luli could not move at all. Soon, the five arrived at the core area. Elder Jiu searched along the way. The others were moving at a moderate pace while consuming elixirs to replenish their life energy. After the time for one incense stick to burn, they arrived at the palace where Luli used to live. Elder Jiu took a look and said, "Someone has been in here. There are traces of human energy. That punk should not be far away. Spread out and search." The five spread out. An hour later, the jade talismans in the four's hands cracked. Elder Jiu and the other three quickly dashed toward an area where one of them was. A patriarch of the Shan family stood near the lake of blood and seas of ghosts, grinning coldly. Elder Jiu and the others came over. They used psychic power to check and laugh. Elder Jiu stroked his white beard and said, "This punk thinks he can be safe by hiding at the bottom of the lake? Do it. Blast him out." Sure, almost at the same time, Luli opened his eyes. Since Elder Jiu and the others did not suppress their energy, Luli could sense it. He used psychic power to check. When he saw the five, especially Elder Jiu, Luli turned pale. Chapter 24-23. After Old Wine gave the order, the two of them made their move. One of them unleashed a blood-red claw towards the bottom of the lake, while the other unleashed a gust of wind, trying to shatter the distant heaven's pearl. Buzzing, however, when their attacks reached the surface of the lake, the water began to surge. The water tumbled and formed two blood-red dragons of water. The dragons of water dashed toward the claw and the gust of wind respectively. Boom, boom. In addition to Luli, Patriarch Jiu and the others were stunned as well. The attacks from two warriors of the fifth tribulation had been shattered by the dragons of water. The claw and the gust of wind vanished. The dragons of water fell apart as well, turning into red water that poured down. What is going on? Luli was ready to die. He did not expect this to happen. He came to his senses quickly. At once, he sent a message to Blood Fairy. "Blood Fairy, did you do it? Did you take control of the patterns here?" "No," Blood Fairy explained bitterly. "The patterns here are too complicated. It is difficult to control them completely. I did not do it. The patterns here are hurting themselves. When someone tries to attack, the patterns will fight back." "Can you stop them?" Luli asked quickly. After all, the five were powerful. Who could tell what tricks they had up their sleeves? Blood Fairy replied, "I will try my best. I will see if I can activate the patterns to stop them from coming in." "Okay." Luli dashed out from the wandering bead and dived to the bottom of the lake with it. He did not use divine energy and only relied on his physical strength, fearing that the inhibition formations in the lake would backfire. Even though the bottom of the lake was only 30 miles away from the surface, Luli believed it would be safer to go to the bottom. Boom, boom, boom. Those outside were not convinced. Apart from Patriarch Jiu, everyone else took actions and attacked the surface of the lake. The four's attacks were horrifying, much more powerful than what Luli had seen before. When they used their skills, space would be torn apart. The void would tremble and the noise would shake up the sky. Bang, 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 the lake water surged. Dragons of water came out and flew toward different attacks. Every time, the dragons of water would shatter the four's attacks. The dragons of water were incomprehensibly strong. It looked like an ordinary water dragon. How could it be so powerful? The expressions of Elder Jiu and the others became serious. Elder Jiu sensed for a while and said, "This water dragon is just an ordinary water dragon, but it has the power of the divine patterns. The divine inscriptions here are the main divine inscriptions of the entire cursed land. No wonder they could withstand your attacks. Let me try. Elder Gio's aura condensed and he thrust his hand forward. A super huge hand appeared in the void and covered half of the lake. Then, it slammed downward. Boom, 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 the void was trembling and cracks appeared on the surface of the lake. Horrifying chi and energy enveloped the entire blood lake. Even Luli felt suffocated in the separation bead at the bottom of the lake. It's over if we can't hold on. Luli prayed to himself. He did not even dare to send a message to Blood Fairy for fear that she might be disturbed. His divine will was locked onto it, and his heart was stretched to the extreme. Whoosh, the entire blood lake began to ripple, as if a tornado was blowing in the sea, setting off raging waves. The lake water tumbled endlessly, and a frightening water dragon spiraled upwards, colliding with the giant palm. Boom! The water dragon was shattered, and the lake water splashed around. However, the lake water was tumbling again. Another water dragon flew up and smashed into the giant palm. Boom! Once again, the water dragon was shattered. The giant palm was weakened and its color was dimmer. When the giant palm was about to land on the surface of the lake, another water dragon came out and shattered the giant palm. Elder Gio and the other 5 looked at each other, speechless. Even though Elder Gio did not use his strongest move, his move could smash a warrior of the 5th tribulation into a pulp. Yet, this water dragon could shatter Elder Gio's attack. It really is the main divine pattern. I think this might be the core of the cursed land. Elder Gio nodded. Regular divine patterns could not withstand his attack. Elder Gio frowned and said, "Should we go down and have a look?" Elder Gio and the others were knowledgeable. They had been to many dangerous places and gone through many dangerous situations. Even though they did not know much about divine patterns, they could tell something was wrong. Their attacks had caused the divine pattern to backfire. It might not be Luli who was controlling the divine pattern. They didn't believe that Luli could control the divine patterns here. Attacking the divine pattern could backfire. What if they didn't? Luli could go in easily, which meant that he could go in easily as long as he didn't attack. As long as he could get to the bottom of the lake and get closer to Luli, it would be easy to take him down or kill him. "I will go down now," an old man with a goatee said. The others nodded. He walked to the surface of the lake slowly. When he touched the water, he didn't trigger any backfire from the divine pattern. He was relieved and went into the lake slowly. Luli saw this. He thought of something and let out the phantom. The phantom whooshed toward the old man with a goatee. "What is that?" The old man with a goatee sensed it with psychic power. Out of instinct, he was alarmed. Before the phantom arrived, a ghastly chi and energy spread out. The chi and energy of the phantom were strong. Remnant souls and ghosts? The old man was about to attack when Master Gio said, "Goat, don't do it." The phantom was coming. The old man with a goatee released his attack out of instinct. As soon as he did so, the water in the lake began to surge. Then, dragons of water dashed toward him and he was blasted out. Poof, the old man with a goatee spat out blood. He didn't seem to be injured, but he was hurt. He flew back up, angry. 13, go down with Brother 8. One of you distract the ghost and the other attack the bead. Master Gio waved his hand and told the old man with a goatee to tend to his wounds. It was not a good thing to be injured here. This was the core area of the cursed land. They were getting weaker every second. Injuries would only make things worse. 2 warriors of the 5th tribulation rushed down. Luli was at his wits' end. If he let out the daughter of Holy King, he would be backfired upon by the divine pattern in the lake. What was more, Blood Fairy was at the bottom of the lake. She could not control the daughter of Holy King. "Blood Fairy, can you activate the divine pattern to attack? If you can't, destroy the divine pattern and trigger the backlash," Luli said. Blood Fairy replied calmly, "Master, don't panic. I will deal with them. Also, put away Phantom." When you are shaken out, don't do anything. Don't even use divine energy. Just fight with your body. Whoosh! The two warriors had dashed down. This time, Luli had put away Phantom. Therefore, they could sneak down easily. Their psychic power was strong. They could see through the separated bead and see Luli. Kid, surrender and we'll spare your life. An old man's voice came to Luli's mind. As soon as he finished his words, the divine pattern at the bottom of the lake suddenly glowed. Then, the water in the lake began to tremble. Many dragons of water came out and attacked the two warriors. Back off! Chapter 24-24. Boom, 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 the two retreated quickly. However, they were in the lake and there were dragons of water coming from all directions. The two had nowhere to run. They were smashed out of the lake after more than a dozen strikes. The two were in a worse state than the one with a goatee. They looked awful. Their abilities would be weakened when they were in the lake. Now that they were injured, their abilities were weakened even more. Buzzing, Luli was shaken out from the separation bead. He listened to Blood Fairy and did nothing. He did not even dare to use divine energy. The dragons of water did not attack him. Though he was shaken by the dragons, he was not hurt. He can control the pattern? Patriarch Geo used psychic power to check on Luli. Seeing that Luli was fine, Patriarch Geo pulled a long face. One of them was at the Lord Realm and 4 at the 5th tribulation were trying to kill a warrior at the peak of the 2nd tribulation. It was like 5 lions trying to kill an earthworm. The earthworm was still alive, but the lions were disgraced. That being said, they could not be blamed. It was not that they were not strong enough. It was just that their opponent was not Luli, but the pattern. The pattern of the cursed land was powerful. Otherwise, it would have been cracked a long time ago. The 5 of them were dealing with the major pattern of the cursed land. It was understandable that they were suppressed by the major pattern of a dangerous land. You 3, go into the interspatial artifact to recover. Patriarch Geo waved his hand. The 3 of them were injured. They would be weaker if they stayed outside. They might as well go into the interspatial artifact to recover. I will go in myself. I don't believe that I can't win. Patriarch Geo made up his mind. The longer they stayed here, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. The 5 of them had come in and yet they could not defeat a warrior. He could not afford to lose face. Patriarch Geo flew over slowly. He looked around and dived into the lake. Patriarch Geo used psychic power to check on Luli. Patriarch Geo's eyes were filled with killing intent. He didn't even want to take down Luli now. All he wanted was to finish Luli in one move. Luli was only 30 miles away. Usually, this distance would be nothing. Patriarch Geo could crush Luli with one finger. However, he did not dare to take any actions. He flew toward Luli slowly. Splash, splash, without waiting for him to come down, the lake water surged, and countless water dragons rushed over. However, Elder Geo didn't retreat. He condensed a beam of light in his hand and countless light balls appeared around him. Those light balls quickly revolved around him and enveloped his entire body. Boom, 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 water dragons rushed over and smashed into the balls of light. The balls of light were destroyed one by one, but Elder Geo quickly condensed more. The balls of light were endless, and the water dragons were endless. They cancelled each other out, unable to harm Elder Geo at all. All right. The other Patriarch cheered. Now that the water dragons could not break through Patriarch Geo's defense, Luli was like an ant on his palm. He could not run away. Down below, Luli saw this, and his heart sank. He took out the painting scroll and the godly medal, ready to fight to the death. Blood Fairy transmitted, "Master, don't move, or you'll be wounded in an instant. Don't worry, there are 2 paths you can take now. Choose." Blood Fairy continued, "The first option is for me to use my divine glyphs to attack the strong one, but the chances of that happening are not high. If I can't defeat him, Then attack him with all your might and see if you can injure him. Once you can injure him, the others will not be a threat. The second option is for me to destroy the entire divine glyphs and cause them to explode. Before the explosion, the confinement of space might be lifted. You will have a chance to fly away. Of course, if the confinement of space is not lifted, you may lose your life in there. What? Luli pulled a long face. Neither of the two options was good. In a split second, he made up his mind. He said, "Let's try the first option. If it doesn't work, destroy the divine glyphs at once and let them die together." Luli had always been like this. He would not give up until the very last moment. If there was no other way, he would die together. The lake water was surging, and the water dragons were getting stronger. They were swarming toward Elder Geo. Elder Geo had to form halos quickly. He was going to charge at Luli, but he had to stop. Luli dashed toward Elder Geo. Since Elder Geo could withstand the water dragons, Luli had no other choice but to attack with all his might. If Luli could injure Elder Geo and force him to retreat, then Luli would be completely safe in the lake. Seeing that Luli had taken the initiative to come to him, Patriarch Geo sneered. He stopped and waited for Luli in the lake. Elder Geo's hand glowed as many balls of light came into being and enveloped him. Luli moved closer quickly. He did not use divine energy for fear that the water dragons would attack him. When he was 2 miles away from Elder Geo, Blood Fairy said, "Master, attack. When you are done, do not move and do nothing." Hoi! Luli sped up. He took out the relic iron in one hand and held the scroll in the other. At the same time, he let out Spectre, which dashed toward Elder Geo first. Elder Geo snorted. He let Spectre enter his body. He believed that his soul was strong and the enchanted soul in his soul could stop Spectre. Buzzing at that moment, the divine glyphs at the bottom of the lake glowed. Then, the water dragons collapsed. Luli could not retaliate against the attacks of the water dragons, or else he would be severely injured. Hoi! Luli could not care less. Even if it was a lord, he would have to face it head-on. He swung the relic iron in one hand and poured divine energy into it while he held the scroll in front of him. Buzzing, as Luli made his move, the divine glyphs began to tremble. The lake water surged as if the water dragons were about to attack. This was Blood Fairy's cooperation. As a matter of fact, the water dragons would not attack. They were just distracting Elder Geo. Elder Geo laughed again. Luli's relic iron was coming. Elder Geo did not take out the holy weapon fragment. Instead, his hand glowed and a brown shield of light came out. That shield of light spun quickly in his hand with the brown dragons moving around. Bang! The relic iron was bounced off when it landed on the shield of light. That shield of light did not crack, but it dimmed down. Whoosh! Elder Geo waved his other hand. A blade of light came out. Instead of attacking the scroll, it was aimed at Luli's hand that was holding the relic iron. The blade of light was fast. Luli's hand was cut off and the relic iron flew away. Blood gushed out from Elder Geo's hand. Luli's hand was bleeding profusely and his eyes were filled with bitterness. He really wasn't on the same level as a lord. It was like a child facing a strong man. No matter how the child struggled, he could not withstand a single blow from a strong man. Blood Fairy, do it. Destroy the divine glyphs. Luli yelled. It was impossible to defeat Elder Geo. The only way left was to destroy the divine glyphs here and trigger an explosion of the divine glyphs in the entire blasted land. If the space confinement could be lifted, Luli would have a chance to fly across the void. If they couldn't break free, then they would all die together. Chapter 24-25. Is this the ancient treasure that the Lantern Ancestor mentioned? Patriarch Geo stared at the scroll in Luli's hand with excitement. Even though he could not tell what was special about the scroll, Dan Jiodeng would not lie. Luli holding it in front of Patriarch Geo was proof of this. Whoosh! Seeing that Luli was retreating, Patriarch Jiudeng aimed at the scroll. He wanted to see if the scroll was as powerful as Dan Jiudeng said. Buzzing, the scroll glowed when the attack landed on it. Then the attack disappeared. The scroll was not damaged. It didn't even tremble. It really is a treasure. Patriarch Jiu was delighted. His attack was not strong, but the scroll was not damaged. It didn't even tremble. That was enough to prove many things. More importantly, the scroll had not been consumed. If it was, it would be much more powerful. Buzzing, when Patriarch Jiu was about to fly down, the water in the lake began to surge. Many dragons of water came at him. Luli did not use divine energy, so he was not hit. Patriarch Jiu sneered. Was Luli putting up a last-ditch struggle? What was the point? The dragons of water here could not break his defense. When he got closer, he could crush Luli easily. Whoosh! Patriarch Jiu released many balls of light to protect himself while he flew toward Luli. He did not mind the holy weapon fragment that Luli threw away. When he killed or captured Luli, the fragment would belong to him. Compared to the fragment, he was more concerned about the scroll in Luli's hand. Buzzing, Ghost Shadow flew out from Patriarch Jiu's mind. Ghost Shadow had been attacking for a long time without achieving anything. It was pointless for it to stay in Patriarch Jiu's mind. Later, Blood Fairy would make her move. Naturally, Patriarch Jiu had to take back Ghost Shadow. Stop struggling. Surrender. Come back with me. Patriarch Jiu may not kill you, but if you resist, you will suffer a miserable death. Patriarch Jiu said. Luli went back to the bottom of the lake without saying anything. He just took a healing pellet. Patriarch Jiu approached quickly. When he was 2 miles away from Luli, Patriarch Jiu's hand glowed, ready to attack. Master, get ready. Blood Fairy's voice rang out, and then the bottom of the lake lit up brighter and brighter. This time, there were no ripples in the lake. Even the surging water dragon from before had calmed down. The divine patterns lit up one after another, and they were like fire dragons weaving through the bottom of the lake. The entire bottom of the lake was as bright as day. The bottom of the lake shook violently as if an earthquake was about to happen. An oppressive aura suddenly spread out, enveloping the entire blood lake. Whoosh, whoosh, a gust of wind swept through the entire cursed lands, causing purple mist to churn. A suppressive aura spread out in all directions with the lake as the center. Boom, 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 with the lake as the center, the ground trembled continuously. The heavens and earth shook, as if the earth was about to collapse and the entire world was about to be destroyed. What's the situation? The elder's expression changed drastically. Even the 3 people who were recuperating in the spatial god artifact sensed that something was amiss. They all rushed out. Kid, are you crazy? Elder Jiu's expression changed drastically. He sensed the divine inscriptions and shouted angrily, You dare to detonate the divine inscriptions here? Stop, or you'll be the first to die. Ha ha ha. Luli laughed like a lunatic. He shouted, I never wanted to live. Let's die together. As Luli shouted, many places at the bottom of the lake began to crack. Waves of water surged up. More horrifying energy surged out from the bottom of the lake. Elder Jiu and everyone else sensed that they were in mortal danger. Let's go. After years of living on the line between life and death, Elder Jiu and the others had developed the instinct to escape. Elder Jiu rushed out from the bottom of the lake and yelled, Run! Elder Jiu did not know how Luli had triggered the explosion of the divine inscriptions. However, the divine inscriptions in the cursed land were horrifying. Once the divine inscriptions exploded, no one below the realm of Great Emperor could survive. Whoosh, 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 the other 4 were frightened. As soon as Elder Jiu shouted, they ran toward the periphery as fast as they could, like frightened rabbits. Whoosh! Luli moved as well. He put away the relic iron. Blood Fairy dashed into his body and said, Master, it's all up to fate now. Buzzing, with one hand, Luli drew formations in the air, trying to open a portal. However, as soon as the portal appeared, it collapsed. But Luli did not give up. He drew formations again and again. He was weak now. There was no way he could leave the cursed land. What was more, even if he could, Elder Gyo and the others would not let him go. Therefore, his only way out was to fly away. What is going on in there? Outside the cursed land, people were waiting anxiously. Dan Jioding did not show any emotion, but inside, he was anxious. He was not doing this for the scroll, but for the dignity of the Dan family. If Elder Gyo and the others went in and came back empty-handed, they would be humiliated. Theoretically speaking, Elder Gyo and the others should have succeeded by now. After all, this was a Lord-level powerhouse. He should have already found Luli and easily killed him. Boom, 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 boom. The ground began to tremble. Then, from the cursed land came a surge of violent energy. The space was trembling as well. It was as if the cursed land was an arsenal that was about to explode. Oh no! Dan Jioding was experienced. He yelled, "Tell everyone to leave at once. The further, the better. The cursed land might explode." Explode, explode? The patriarch of the Chen family trembled. Then, he let out a shrill cry. Warriors of the Chen family in the distance stepped back as they heard the shrill cry. At the same time, they cried out as well. Boom, 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 boom. It took time for the shrill cry to be heard. Before the shrill cry could reach everyone, there came a loud noise of explosion from the cursed land. The space in the center of the cursed land was torn apart. A huge black hole appeared. Many cracks in space spread out. A horrifying energy spread out to an area with a radius of more than 3,000 miles. Boom, boom, boom. The ground in an area with a radius of more than 3,000 miles began to shake. Everyone nearby looked over. They saw a huge hole appear in the sky, and the sky was filled with cracks that looked like spider webs. Everyone nearby felt their souls tremble, and they even stopped breathing. Boom, 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 boom. Deafening noises of explosion came out, shaking heaven and earth. The horrifying wind flattened the mountains around the cursed land. Mushroom clouds rose up to the sky. The sound of explosion and the stifling energy spread out to an area with a radius of more than 3,000 miles. Many people were alarmed. The news spread out. Soon, all the powerful warriors nearby gathered there. Everyone wanted to go and have a look at such a shocking scene. Bang! A man flew out from a pile of rubble. He looked back and saw that the space behind him had not healed up yet. The land was in a state of desolation. His face was pale. He even forgot to wipe off the blood on the corner of his mouth. No, the patriarch of the Chen family is dead. The 100,000 warriors are dead. Elder Gyo and the others are probably dead. This bastard. He is going to drag so many people down with him. Chapter 24-26. The clan master of the Chen family was the first to arrive. He was shocked when he arrived with his men. He had been here many times and found that this place was completely different from the cursed land he knew. Or rather, the cursed land had disappeared. There used to be many mountains nearby, but now not a single mountain could be seen within a radius of 10,000 miles. They were all flattened. The cursed land was gone, and there was a huge pit. The purple haze had dissipated in many places. The palaces were flattened. It was a mess, as if the end of the world had come. The flattening of the palaces was not a big deal. More importantly, there were broken limbs everywhere. There was a faint smell of blood in the air. Needless to say, many people had died here. "It's our men!" a patriarch of the Chen family yelled. Their divine perception could detect fragments of the Chen family's armor and tokens in many places. Although the corpses had been turned into minced meat, they could still recognize some details. Swish! Someone was running. The clan master of the Chen family and the others were shocked when they used their divine perception to check. The flying person's clothes were ragged and his hair was disheveled. He looked like a ferocious ghost. Senior Jiu Deng. The clan master of the Chen family recognized that person. He quickly flew over to him and asked, "What's going on? What happened?" Dan Jiu Deng said despondently, "Dead, all dead. This bastard is too cruel. I don't know how he did it. He detonated the sacred pattern in the cursed land. One of our grand supreme elders, 4 patriarchs, and people from your family are all dead." Although the clan master of the Chen family and the patriarchs were mentally prepared, their faces still darkened when they heard Dan Jiu Deng's words. The Chen family was a big family in this area. However, the death of 4 patriarchs and 100,000 soldiers was a big loss for them. "Pingji, don't worry." Seeing the clan master's face, Dan Jiu Deng said bitterly, "I've sent a message back. My clan master will be here soon. He will give the Chen family an explanation then." Swish, 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 many people flew over from the distance. They were the powerful warriors of the nearby families who were alarmed. When they saw so many severed limbs nearby, all of their faces were filled with shock. They knew that the Chen clan had mobilized so many troops previously. The Shan clan had asked the Chen clan for help in capturing a cultivator. Now that there were so many corpses and the cursed land had become like this, it was needless to say that the Chen family had been completely annihilated. With such a great commotion, could it be that a great emperor had made a move? There were scouts from various clans lurking nearby. When they discovered that the Chen clan was standing still, they denied the possibility of the great emperor making a move. Otherwise, the Chen clan's patriarch would have been scared witless. The divine inscriptions in the cursed lands are so powerful, how can they self-destruct? Could it be that the person your clan is pursuing is a divine inscriptionist? The Chen clan leader asked in confusion, then added, "Is that person dead?" "No idea." Dan Jiuding's eyes turned slightly red. He thought for a moment and said, "He should be dead. He's in the center of the cursed land. Our grand elder is dead, how can he not be dead? It's too easy for him to die." The Chen family's patriarch gritted his teeth and said, "If he doesn't die, I'll skin him alive and make him wish he was dead." The conversation between Dan Jiuding and the Chen family patriarch was overheard by the scouts nearby. They left at once to spread the news. Dan Jiuding and the Chen family patriarch didn't think of blocking the news. Dan Jiuding was thinking about how to explain to the family patriarch later, so he didn't pay any attention to the scouts nearby. The Chen family patriarch, on the other hand, knew that such a matter could not be kept a secret. So many families nearby were alarmed. If they didn't know the whole story, they would suspect that some great emperor was trying to deal with the Chen family. Soon, the news spread out. It was too big to be kept under wraps. Dozens of families nearby were alarmed. Soon, the news spread to all corners of the Godly Wind continent. The Shan family had been pursuing a young warrior named Lu Li. People at the center of the Godly Wind continent knew about it. Some at the north had heard about it as well. Everything made sense. This young warrior named Lu Li ran into the cursed land. Then, Dan Jiuding, a Shan family great patriarch and 4 patriarchs all went after him. For some reason, the cursed land suddenly exploded. The Shan family great patriarch and 4 patriarchs, as well as the 100,000 warriors and 4 patriarchs of the Chen family, were all killed. The death of the Chen family warriors and the 4 patriarchs of the Shan family were nothing. But the death of Patriarch Jiu caused a sensation at the Godly Wind continent. A powerful warrior of the Shan family, a powerful warrior of the Shan family. Normally, nobody dared to provoke a family of great emperor. Even if there were some conflicts, it was unlikely that any powerful warrior would die, not to mention a powerful warrior of the Shan family. That was why a family of great emperor was powerful. With the existence of a great emperor, nobody dared to offend this family. A family of great emperor would occupy a large piece of land with endless resources. Over the years, the powerful warriors of the family would not die. The younger generation of the family would grow up and the number of powerful warriors would increase. Now, the Shan family was famous at the Godly Wind continent. Not only did someone dare to challenge them, but the Shan family lost a powerful warrior of the Shan family. How could such a matter not cause a sensation? 3 days later, the Shan family patriarch arrived at the cursed land. He asked about what had happened and went around the cursed land. He comforted the Chen family patriarch and then went back with the others. The cursed land had become like this. Patriarch Jiu and the others were dead. Luli would not survive. What else could the Shan family patriarch say? He had to admit that he was unlucky and go back to apologize to Phoenix Queen. Upon his return, the Shan family patriarch went to the Phoenix Palace. To his surprise, Phoenix Queen was not there. Phoenix Queen left a message for a maid, saying that she was going to explore a dangerous place with another emperor. The Shan family patriarch made an announcement after much thought. He said that Patriarch Jiu and the others went to hunt down Luli. Though they killed Luli, they accidentally detonated the ruins of the cursed land, causing the land to explode. The death of Patriarch Jiu could not be kept a secret. The Shan family patriarch might as well admit it openly. In this way, he could save some of his reputation. This meant that the death of Patriarch Jiu was not caused by Luli. It was the explosion of the ruins of the cursed land. When the news came, the Godly Wind continent quieted down. After all, the cursed land was one of the 3 most dangerous places of the Godly Wind continent. It was understandable that the explosion of the ruins could kill a powerful warrior of the Lord Realm. That young warrior is lucky. He had a powerful warrior of the Lord Realm die with him. Many people said the same thing. Nobody believed that Luli was still alive. The explosion of the cursed land was so horrifying that even a powerful warrior of the Lord Realm could die. How could Luli be alive? As a matter of fact, Luli was still alive, but at the moment living was worse than death. He was in a mountain at the north of the Godly Wind continent. He had passed out and was covered in blood. One of his arms was broken. His other hand and the bones in his legs were broken as well. Only a few of his bones were intact. He was like a boneless maggot lying on the mountain, with 2 ferocious beasts tearing at his flesh. If it were not for the fact that his body was strong enough and the 2 beasts were just average beasts, he would have become their food. Before the explosion of the cursed land, the space was unfrozen. Luli successfully drew a formation in the void and flew away. However, not long after he got in, before the golden door was closed, the space was torn apart and he was forced out. Chapter 24-27. Roar, roar, the 2 beasts were tearing at Luli's arms and legs with their teeth. Unfortunately, Luli's body was too strong. The 2 beasts felt like they were biting iron. They could not move a single inch. The 2 beasts would not give up either. They howled and tried to call their friends over. Whoosh, 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 many beasts dashed over and surrounded Luli. Those beasts were not large in size. Even with more than a dozen beasts tearing at Luli, the outcome was the same. Roar, roar! The beasts could not bite Luli, so they kept on howling, trying to attract more beasts over. Those beasts were not intelligent. They thought they could not bite Luli on their own, so they had to ask their friends for help. Grandpa, there is someone over there. Many beasts are biting him. After a while, a timid female voice came from the mountain. She said after a pause, Grandpa, that man is so pitiful. Can you go and save him? From the mountain came an old man and a young lady. Both were wearing white clothes and white hat. The young lady had a pair of big and clear eyes, like a white lotus on a snow mountain. Her facial features were not exquisite, but she was pretty and adorable. She had a pure energy that made people feel comfortable. Both grandpa and granddaughter carried 2 baskets of herbs on their back. The granddaughter was weak, only at the third tribulation realm. The old man was stronger, but he had just reached the fourth tribulation. He was not strong, but he was strong enough to deal with the beast. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the courage to come to the mountain to collect herbs. The old man checked Luli with psychic power, but he was hesitating. Luli's injuries must not have been caused by beasts. He must have been attacked by enemies. The old man was the chief of a nearby tribe. He was the most powerful warrior in the tribe. Their tribe was weak, the kind that could be destroyed by any force. What if Luli's enemies were powerful? That would bring disaster to their tribe. Luli seemed to be at the peak of the second tribulation, but he was so badly injured that the beasts could not bite through his flesh. There must be something special about Luli. Grandpa, seeing that her grandpa didn't move, the granddaughter looked up in confusion and said, "Didn't you teach us to be kind? We can't just stand by and do nothing." Grandfather looked at his granddaughter's pure eyes, pondered for a moment, and finally rushed forward. His battle prowess was still passable. More than half of the fierce beasts were killed by him, and the remaining fierce beasts fled. "This person is seriously injured." His granddaughter walked over. She could not bear to look at Luli. She took out some pellets and fed them to Luli. Grandpa thought about it and applied some pellets to Luli as well. "Grandpa, shall we bring him back to the tribe?" The granddaughter waited for a moment and said with pity, "He is very pitiful. He will be eaten by the beasts here." "This won't do." Grandfather firmly refused. "This person's origin is unknown, we can't bring him back to the tribe. If something happens, it will implicate the tribe. Sewer, listen to us. We'll heal him. He won't die." "Grandpa, there are so many berserk beasts here." However, the granddaughter said stubbornly, "He is unconscious. If we stay here, what if we encounter other powerful beasts? We can't just watch him die. Didn't you say that saving a life is better than building a 7-storied pagoda?" All right, Grandpa thought about it. Eventually, he decided that he could not allow his granddaughter's pure heart to be polluted by the mortal world. He said, "But we cannot expose this person. We must hide him in our secret room, and you cannot tell anyone." "Okay." The granddaughter grinned happily. She was happy that she had done a good deed. The old man put Luli into his interspatial artifact and destroyed the traces nearby. Then, he left with his granddaughter. They went down the mountain quickly. 4 hours later, they arrived at a small tribe. The entire tribe had a population of just over 3,000. There were not many warriors, and they rarely had contact with the outside world. "Greetings, family patriarch. Sewer, you are back." "Greetings, Sewer." Both grandpa and granddaughter were well received in the tribe. Grandpa was the most powerful warrior in the tribe and was respected. His granddaughter was the little princess of the tribe, loved by everyone. Grandpa and granddaughter walked back to their residence, which was a stone fort. Grandpa activated the divine rune and sent Luli to the secret room. Sewer fed Luli some healing pellets. For the next couple of days, Grandpa and granddaughter took turns to take care of Luli. Luli was in a coma, but his wounds were recovering. That being said, the source of his life was damaged at the blasted land. Therefore, his recovery was slow and his chi and energy were weak. Grandpa was in a state of anxiety for more than a dozen days. None of Luli's enemies came after him, which put his mind at ease. He would send Luli away when he recovered. Luli woke up on the 18th day. He felt pain all over his body. He was so weak that he could barely keep his eyes open. That being said, he could use psychic power to check. He took a look and found himself in a sealed room with divine runes activated. He was lying on the bed with herbs on his body. "Someone has saved me." Luli came back to his senses and breathed in relief. He still had lingering fears when he recalled what happened at the blasted land. He was glad that he was not smashed near the city when he was knocked out. Otherwise, he would be in the dungeon of the Shan family. Buzzing, Lu Li's mind wandered for a moment when the inhibition formation glowed and a pretty girl walked in. As a matter of fact, the girl had matured. She was still young, but she was a young girl. Compared to Lu Li's age, she was no different from a little girl. He was less than 20 years old at most. Su'er walked in. She sensed that Lu Li's qi and energy were getting stronger. She smiled and said, "You are awake." Lu Li forced his eyes open. Looking into the girl's pure eyes, he tried to smile and said, "Did you save me?" "Thank you." The girl smiled sweetly and said, "Grandpa and I brought you down from the mountain. I am Lu Su'er. What is your name?" The girl was so innocent. Lu Li wanted to give her a fake name. But on second thought, he said, "I am Lu Li. When I recover, I will thank you handsomely." "You are welcome," Lu Su'er said with a smile. "Grandpa said that doing good is not for reward. He said that good people will be rewarded. If you do too many good deeds, heaven will bless you." "Ha ha." Lu Li laughed. Did good people really have good karma? Would the heavens really protect him? He had seen too many good people die tragically and bad people wreak havoc for tens of thousands of years. In this world, only the strong were respected. Good people often died early. The weaker you were, the easier it was for you to be bullied and the easier it was for you to die. But of course, Lu Li would not say this to the girl. It was rare to see such a pure and kind girl. How could he spoil her innocence? "Brother, are you from the outside world?" Lu Su'er's eyes glowed. She asked with curiosity, "I heard that the outside world is big, beautiful, and prosperous. Is it true? I want to go out and have a walk. Too bad I am too weak. Grandpa won't let me." "It is big. Many places are beautiful and prosperous." Lu Li thought about it and said, "But you better not go out. The outside world is messy and there are many bad people. If you go out, you will be hurt." Lu Su'er was so innocent that she could talk to a stranger without any precaution. Plus, she was cute and pretty. It was not hard to imagine what would happen if a girl like her went out. Chapter 24-28. Lu Su'er was honest. She talked with Lu Li for a long time, telling him about the situation of the tribe. The ancestors of this tribe used to be a big family. Later on, the family was wiped out. This branch of the tribe escaped and settled down here. The ones that escaped were good enough. What was more, the most powerful warrior died when he made it here. Gradually, the branch of the tribe declined. There were not many resources here and xianqi was scarce. As a result, the family grew weaker. In this generation, the most powerful warrior was only at the initial stage of the fourth tribulation. There were few people around. The nearest city was hundreds of thousands of miles away. There were dozens of villages and tribes nearby. There were 3 middle-level forces that occupied the best mountains and resources. Their tribe was bullied all year round. There was a middle-level force that would bully them from time to time. They were angry but dared not to speak up. In this world, those who were not powerful would be bullied. Lu Su'er left after a while. After a while, her grandpa Lu Chunlei came in. He was a kind old man. But he asked Lu Li some vague questions. For example, did Lu Li run into some powerful enemies, and where did Lu Li come from? "Don't worry." Lu Li put it bluntly, "I will rest for a few more days. When I am better, I will leave. Tell Su'er not to tell others my name. I will leave secretly and I will not bring you any trouble." "That is not what I meant." Lu Chunlei was embarrassed but Lu Li waved his hand. Lu Chunlei didn't say anything else and left the secret room. Lu Li took 2 healing pellets, closed his eyes and fell asleep. After 2 days of sleep, Lu Li was still weak but clearly, he was better. He sat with his legs crossed to tend to his wounds. In this way, he could recover faster. His arms grew back quickly. Lu Su'er would come in every now and then and talk to Lu Li. He liked this innocent and kind girl. She was like a younger sister to him. It was the 8th day. Lu Li's wounds were half healed. He could leave at any time. He planned to rest for 3 more days before leaving. He was afraid that the Shan family was still on the trail. If they came to this place, everyone in this small village would die. Buzzing, right at that moment, the inhibition formation in the secret room lit up. Lu Suer rushed in. Lu Chunlei said, "Suer, stay in here. Do not come out until I open the rune. Do you understand?" "Grandfather." Lu Suer's face was full of panic. She sobbed and said, "Grandpa, you must be careful. Don't fight with those bad people. If you really can't hand Suer over, I can't live without you, grandfather." "Don't say any more. I know what I'm doing," Lu Chunlei said in a deep voice. He then closed the door of the secret chamber and activated the divine rune restriction. Lu Li frowned and asked, "What is it, Suer?" Lu Suer's tears flowed like a broken dam. She cried and said, "There is a bad person in the Xingyang Palace who wants to take me back as a concubine. Grandpa didn't agree, so he brought people to the tribe and wanted to capture me. Big brother, I'm so scared. They'll kill Grandpa." Lu Li raised his eyebrows and said, "Suer, don't cry. I will have a look and I will help you. Your grandpa will be fine with me here." "You?" Lu Suer was stunned. She looked at Lu Li with doubt and said, "Brother, you are only at the peak of the second tribulation. Can you do it?" "Ha ha ha." Lu Li laughed out loud. He told Blood Fairy to have a look and then said, "Don't worry. I am good. Just trust me." Blood Fairy reached out her tentacles to sense the situation outside. A moment later, she reported, "Master, there is a team of warriors coming. 3 at the middle stage of the 4th tribulation and 100 warriors." "Oh, I see. Keep an eye on them." Lu Li didn't mind. He would not do anything as long as they didn't mess around. Otherwise, he would be exposed. But if they did, he wouldn't mind killing them all. Lu Suer and her grandpa saved his life. Even though he wouldn't die as long as he was not discovered in the mountains, he had to pay them back. Not to mention that Lu Suer was such an innocent and adorable little girl. Even if he didn't owe her a favor, he would still come to her rescue. Whoosh whoosh, outside the village, there came some noises. Then, over 100 beasts came. They were all tall and majestic. They were ferocious and every one of them was as strong as warriors at the peak of the 3rd tribulation. Of the 100, 3 were at the middle stage of the 4th tribulation. At the front was a young man in a luxurious robe. He was proud. He flew the beast to the front of the tribe. He took out a halberd and was filled with murderous intent. Whoosh whoosh! All the warriors in the village that had reached the 3rd tribulation rushed over. There were over 1,000 of them. The old, the weak, the women and the children gathered in a corner of the tribe. Though they had the advantage in numbers, there was a clear disparity in their abilities. Apart from the 3 at the middle stage of the 4th tribulation, the rest were at the peak of the 3rd tribulation. The 100 warriors could fight against the entire tribe, let alone the 3 at the middle stage of the 4th tribulation. "Lu!" The young man in the luxurious robe pointed at Lu Chunlei with his halberd and said, "Are you going to hand over the man or not? If you don't, not even a blade of grass will grow in your village." Lu Chunlei was furious. He took out a huge axe and said, "Young Master Wang, don't cross the line. Have you not heard of the saying that those who commit unjust deeds will bring about their own destruction? Aren't you afraid that heaven will strike you down with divine thunderbolts?" "Ha ha ha!" Young Master Wang laughed and said, "Lu, are you stupid? It's not like you haven't experienced divine thunderbolt. That's the heavenly tribulation. Heaven doesn't care about these things. If heaven cared, there wouldn't be so many deaths in the divine wind continent every day. Cut the crap. If you don't hand over the man, I'm going to make a move. Kill." Lu Chunlei could give in to other things. It didn't matter even if he died. But his only granddaughter was his reverse scale. If anyone dared to touch his granddaughter, he would risk his life. Buzz, right at this moment, a black mist rose from the stone castle where Lu Chunlei lived. Following that, the temperature of the entire village seemed to drop a lot. Everyone felt their bodies shiver and their hair stood on end. What is that? Young Master Wang and the others shivered and looked at the black shadow. The black shadow was so fast that it rushed to the front of young Master Wang and the others. A brown-haired old man beside young Master Wang shouted, "Young Master, retreat. I'll block it." Woo woo, a strange cry was heard. The black shadow drilled into the body of the brown-haired old man. The old man's body shivered. Following that, his eyes rolled back and he fell. The black shadow drilled out of his body and rushed into young Master Wang's body. Young Master! The other middle-stage Fourth Tribulation Realm martial artist was frightened. However, before he could do anything, young Master Wang's body flipped and fell. He died immediately. Woo woo, that black shadow flew out again and rushed towards the third middle stage Fourth Tribulation Realm martial artist. That person was frightened. As he flew away, he shouted in horror, "Run! Go back and report to the palace lord immediately!" Just as he shouted, the black shadow caught up to him. Following that, this person became a corpse again. The rest of the soldiers were frightened. They turned into birds and beasts and fled in all directions. There's a ghost. Chapter 24-29. The ghosts, of course, were not wild ones. They were ghosts raised by Luli. They were just 3 warriors at the middle stage of the Fourth Tribulation. Luli could kill them himself or ask the daughter of Saint King to do it. But it would be easier for him to kill the ghost. Not many people knew about the background of the ghost. What was more, the ghost was powerful. It had devoured so many ghosts in the Blood Lake. It was more than enough to deal with several warriors at the middle stage of the Fourth Tribulation. The specter chased after them for a while and killed more than 20 warriors. The rest ran away. Luli controlled the specter to come back. Seeing the ghostly shadow fly back to his castle, Lu Chunlei seemed to be deep in thought. The rest of the villagers were still frightened to the point that their faces were a little pale. Firstly, it was because the malicious ghost was scary, and secondly, it had killed the young palace lord of Xingyang Palace. This was too much. Presumably, the experts and army of Xingyang Palace would arrive soon, right? Clean up the battlefield. Lu Chunlei waved his hand. Then he flew back to his castle and went into a secret room. Lu Suer was waiting with worry. She went over to Lu Chunlei anxiously and asked, "Grandpa, how is it?" "It is okay. It is done." Lu Chunlei forced a smile. He looked at Luli and patted Lu Suer's head. "Suer, go out. I need to talk to you." Lu Suer nodded and left. Lu Chunlei cupped his fists and said, "Brother Lu, just now, yes." Luli nodded and said, "I controlled that ghost. Don't worry. It is not evil and will not harm people. It is just a piece of treasure." "Brother Lu, I didn't know that you are a master." Lu Chunlei bowed and said, "Brother Lu, thank you for saving our lives. I thank you on behalf of all the people in the tribe." "Lord Lu, you are flattering me." Luli waved his hand with a smile and said, "If it were not for you and Suer, I would be dead by now. You have done me a great favor. I am just doing you a small favor. I have a presumptuous request." Lu Chunlei bowed and said solemnly, "If you can help me, I can die with no regrets." Luli helped Lu Chunlei up and said with a smile, "Lord Lu, you don't have to be so polite. Just say it." Lu Chunlei said, "Brother Lu, please take Suer away, the further the better. In the future, please take good care of Suer. Suer's parents passed away when she was young. This old man only has one granddaughter. She is very pure and kind. This old man. Lu Chunlei choked with sobs as he spoke. Luli didn't say yes to Lu Chunlei. Instead, he asked, "Does that young Master Wang have a powerful background?" Lu Suer was Lu Chunlei's only granddaughter. She was the apple of his eye, but now she was going to be taken away by a stranger. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation was critical, Lu Chunlei definitely wouldn't have done this. Lu Chunlei nodded heavily and said, "He is the young palace master of Xingyang Palace. Xingyang Palace is one of the 3 major forces in the vicinity. There are many experts in the palace, and there are at least 15 tribulation martial artists. You killed 3 of them, but there are still 12 left. Most importantly, their palace lord was very strong. He was at the late stage of the 4th tribulation. It was said that he even had a holy artifact fragment. There are so many old, weak women and children in our tribe. Even if we want to run, we can't. We can only ask little brother Lu to take Su-er away." Late stage 4th tribulation? Lu Li nodded. He had a plan. He asked, "Does the Xingyang Palace have any backers? For example, a superpower?" Yes, Lu Chunlei thought about it and said, "It is said that the Xingyang Palace is related to an ancient family, the Ning family. I don't know the details, but I do know that those forces must have backers." "I see." Lu Li thought about it and said, "The Xingyang Palace is nothing. I can destroy it on my own. But if there is a superpower behind them, I am afraid that there will be trouble when they find out. How about this? I will go around and do some investigation. If there is no powerful background, I will take care of this for you. I promise you that you will not have any worries." Lu Chunlei was surprised. Lu Li said the Xingyang Palace was nothing? He could destroy it on his own? In Lu Chunlei's ears, these words sounded like a fantasy story. But Lu Chunlei saw a glimmer of hope when he remembered that Lu Li could send out a ghost to kill 3 warriors at the middle stage of the 4th tribulation. "How about this?" Lu Li thought about it and said, "I have an interspatial artifact that can put you all in. If things go wrong, I will take you away and find a safe place for you to live in seclusion. After all, there is nothing to remember here and there is nothing valuable." Spiritual chi was scarce here. There were some mountains nearby, but there shouldn't be any precious herbs. Wouldn't it make no difference where the tribe could stay? Lu Chunlei was hesitating. Lu Li took out the relic iron. He used divine energy and said with a smile, "Holy weapon fragment? I have one as well." Lu Chunlei was frightened by the divine might of the saint artifact fragment. He hurriedly bowed and said, "This old man had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I didn't expect young master to be a noble person. Young master's great kindness to us, we are unable to repay you." With that said, Lu Chunlei was about to kneel. Lu Li helped him up and waved his hand. "Go and talk to the people of the tribe and get things sorted out. I can promise you that I can at least take you away safely. How about this? I will treat my wounds for 5 days and then we will depart." "Okay." Lu Chunlei hurried out to talk to the people of the tribe. The people of the tribe gathered at the plaza, terrified. Many of them were talking at once. Most of them wanted to run away. Lu Chunlei walked out, gathered everyone, and explained the situation to them. They heard that the ghost was released by a powerful warrior. Now, this powerful warrior was going to help them destroy the Xingyang Palace and take Lu Li away? The first thought that came to people's mind was that they could not believe that there was such a good thing in the world. Helping out in the face of injustice? Something like that only existed in fairy tales. Lu Chunlei didn't say that he was the one who saved Lu Li. He only said that Lu Li and Lu Chunlei were connected. Lu Chunlei had absolute authority in the tribe. Many people in the tribe were worried and doubtful, but they didn't say anything. Everyone went back to pack up. They didn't have many valuables, so they finished in a day. Lu Suer was confused. Lu Chunlei said there was a mysterious warrior. Was that mysterious warrior the young man they saved? 5 days later, the answer was revealed. Lu Li walked out of the underground secret room. Everyone in the tribe was ready. They stood at the plaza. When they saw a young man at the peak of the 2nd tribulation, they were all surprised. "Brother Lu." Lu Suer walked to Lu Li and asked in a low voice, "It was you who killed the bad guy that day?" "Yes." Lu Li said with a smile. Then he took out a bead and a gust of chilly wind blew out. The ghost appeared in midair. The chilly chi and energy made everyone feel like they were in an ice cellar. Chapter 24:30. In the end, they all chose to go with Lu Li, not because they trusted Lu Li, but Lu Chunlei. In the tribe, Lu Chunlei was their backbone. Since Lu Chunlei had decided to go with Lu Li, they would go with him. Lu Li put all of them into the separation bead. Their fates were in Lu Li's hands. If Lu Li wanted to harm them, they would all die. But if Lu Li didn't do anything, they would all be dead. Therefore, they didn't think too much about it. If they didn't go with Lu Li, they would be killed by the Palace of Sun soon. Lu Li's wounds were almost healed. He didn't go to the Palace of Sun in a hurry. Instead, he changed his looks and went to a nearby city. He ran as fast as he could and arrived at the city in 4 hours. Inside the city, Lu Li spent some divine stones to gather information about the Palace of Sunday. The Palace of Sun was a middle-level force nearby, but it did have some connection with the ancient Ning family. The wife of the current master of the Palace of Sun was a young lady from a branch of the Ning family. Lu Li made his move after he got the information. He flew toward the Palace of Sunday. He planned to wipe out the Palace of Sun and then fly away. It was dangerous to fly across the void with so many people. If the void were to tremble and they were shaken out, they would all be minced into pieces in an instant. Therefore, Lu Li didn't dare to do that unless it was absolutely necessary. Since he could not fly, it was easy for the Palace of Sun to track him down by running. Naturally, Lu Li wanted to wipe out the Palace of Sun once and for all. Lu Li didn't care about the relationship between the Palace of Sun and the Ning family. She was just a young lady from a branch of the Ning family. As long as Lu Li didn't kill anyone from the Ning family wouldn't interfere. The Palace of Sun was not far away. They could arrive in 1 day. Lu Li was in no hurry. He took his time and flew on. Since the Palace of Sun didn't do anything during the past 5 days, they wouldn't do anything in the next 2 days either. The Palace of Sun was located in a mountain, one of the best in the area. The Palace of Sun had a population of 70,000 to 80,000, more than 10,000 warriors, and more than a dozen powerful warriors. It was a middle-level force at the godly Windland. Young Master Wang's death had shaken Xingyang Palace. However, after learning that a ghostly shadow had easily killed young Master Wang and the other 2 in an instant, Xingyang Palace Master Wang Yangfeng had instead given the order not to act rashly. Wang Yangfeng didn't believe in malicious ghosts. Malicious ghosts were just powerful remnant souls. If they were wandering ghosts, then Lu Chunlei and the others would have died long ago. Therefore, malicious ghosts were controlled by someone. If the enemy could control such ghosts, then the enemy must be powerful. Wang Yangfeng wouldn't dare to do anything. If the enemy was a powerful warrior, then the Palace of Li would be. Wang Yangfeng had done a lot of evil things over the years. This spirit mountain was originally not theirs, but he had plotted to wipe out all the original forces, leaving no one alive. Wang Yang had robbed many girls from many. That Wang of Li. It was precisely because he had done so many evil deeds that Wang Yangfeng was particularly afraid of death. He absolutely did not dare to offend a big force. Back then, when his son was beaten by a big force's young master, not only did he not dare to get angry, but he even personally went to beg for forgiveness. Wang Yangfeng didn't dare to do anything before he found out the truth. After the incident, Wang Yangfeng sent hundreds of people to search for information. However, after asking around for a few days, there was no news. There were no unfamiliar experts in the vicinity. Yang Shua. In the main hall, Wang Yangfeng ordered, "Tomorrow, bring 5 elders to scout. I will follow you. If the situation is not right, retreat immediately. I will provide support." If nothing happens, kill everyone and nail the corpses on the stone castle. Alright. The few elders were already somewhat impatient and immediately went back to make arrangements for the transfer of people. The next day, the sky had just brightened when Wang Yangshua brought along 5 elders and 2,000 soldiers and set off in a formidable array. Wang Yangfeng also brought 4 elders with him, leaving only one to stand guard. They secretly followed the main group, ready to help the people in front at any time. Wang Yangshua was the strongest warrior in the Sun Palace. He was in the middle stage of the 4th tribulation. He had a demon soul to protect him. Wang Yangfeng didn't need to worry about him. If he couldn't do it, he could provide support from the back. Of course, if the enemy was too powerful, then Wang Yangshua would have to be sacrificed. The large group flew majestically, and there were scouts at the front, back, left, and right. Wang Yangshua's face was filled with arrogance, and he did not have the slightest bit of fear. After 2 hours, a small mountain appeared in front of them. When the scouts approached the mountain, several of them suddenly fell to the ground. They didn't even have time to send out the signal. The army didn't receive the signal, so they moved on. Soon, they arrived at the mountain. When the soldier in front saw that there was a person standing on the hill, his face immediately became nervous. Then, he let out a shrill whistle. On a battleship in the middle, Wang Yangshua's expressions changed. Several people scanned with psychic power and locked onto an old man. The old man had a hunched back. He didn't have any warrior's chi and energy. He looked like an old farmer. But there were 4 warriors near the old farmer. They were dead. They were the scouts of the Sun Palace. The army was on high alert. The mysterious old man who suddenly appeared was probably the one who killed the young master. The army spread out at once. More than a dozen battleships surrounded the small mountain. Wang Yangshua looked at Lu Li and shouted, "Who are you? Why do you want to kill people of the Sun Palace?" "Who am I?" The old man laughed coldly and said, "Aren't you here to find me? I'm here now." Yes, the old man was Lu Li. He put on the shape-shifting mask and changed his appearance. Even his realm couldn't be detected. He wanted to attack the Sun Palace. Now that all the powerful warriors of the Sun Palace had come out, it was just what he wanted. "It's you?" Wang Yangshua was filled with killing intent. He shouted coldly, "My nephew Wang Tianyun and 2 of our patriarchs were killed by you?" "Yes." Lu Li nodded and said, "Your nephew has done too much evil. He offended me, so I must kill him. Can't I? The Sun Palace has done many evil things over the years. Today I will do justice on behalf of heaven." "If so, then there is nothing more to say." Wang Yangshua shouted coldly, "Do it. Kill this man." Whoosh whoosh. Warriors flew down from all sides and took turns to attack Lu Li. Several patriarchs also dashed down like ferocious tigers. Lu Li stomped on the ground and shot up like an arrow. But he didn't go toward the patriarchs. Instead, he dashed toward a group of warriors. Buzzing almost at the same time, a gust of cold wind blew out from the bottom of the hill. Then a ghost shadow came out and dashed toward the patriarchs like a ferocious ghost. The ghost shadow was so fast that it reached one of the patriarchs in an instant. A huge shield appeared in the patriarch's hand. The shield glowed in an attempt to stop the ghost shadow. However, the ghost shadow was incorporeal and it went into the patriarch's body at once. The patriarch's soul was strong enough so he didn't die right away. He held his head and rolled around, screaming in pain. After a while, he fell down and smashed a hole in the hill. Buzzing, soon, the ghost shadow flew out. Naturally, the patriarch's soul was devoured. The ghost shadow made threatening gestures and dashed toward another patriarch with ferocity. "Step back. Go and kill that bastard." Chapter 24:31. Wang Yangshua dashed toward the ghost while the other 4 patriarchs dashed toward Lu Li. Naturally, the other warriors went after Lu Li. As long as Lu Li was killed, nobody would be able to control the ghost. Bang bang bang! Lu Li punched one warrior at a time and the warriors were killed easily. The 4 patriarchs rushed over. Lu Li's heaven separation bead glowed and the daughter of Saint King came out. She dashed toward the 4 patriarchs in a blur. Buzzing! At the same time, Lu Li let out the Phantom Master as well. Now that the fight had begun, Lu Li didn't want his identity to be exposed. He wanted to kill everyone. Bang! The daughter of Saint King made a move. The average patriarchs could not stand it. The daughter of Saint King landed a slap on a patriarch. That patriarch was smashed away and half of his body was crushed. He was killed in one move. Woo woo, the Phantom Master bellowed. He dashed around among the warriors. He could grab one warrior at a time. The warriors were like carrots to him. It was too easy for him to kill them. On the other side, Wang Yangshuo was being invaded by Ghastly Shadow. He had originally thought that his grade 6 demon soul would be able to withstand it, but he had still underestimated Ghastly Shadow's strength. Ghastly Shadow had devoured all the demon souls in the Blood Lake and Ghost Sea, and was countless times stronger than before. Therefore, Wang Yangshuo could stand it. But he knew that he could not last long. Soon, he would die. However, when he saw the daughter of Saint King killed a patriarch, he became even more bitter. The Xingyang Palace had provoked a powerful warrior that they should not have. Run! Run! Wang Yangshuo yelled. If they didn't run, they would all die here. How long had it been? 400 to 500 warriors had died and 2 patriarchs were dead. Wang Yangshuo was about to die as well. If they didn't run now, none of them would be able to run. The warriors were scared out of their wit. Hearing Wang Yangshuo's words, they ran to all sides. Lu Li smashed a warrior away. Then he said with a smile, "Do you think you can run?" He shot out a ray of Xian energy toward the foot of the mountain. The foot of the mountain was lit up. Then, many snakes of fire slithered down the mountain. The snakes of fire flew up to the sky and formed a huge net of fire, covering up an area with a radius of 3,000 miles. Someone flew too fast and crashed into the fire net. He immediately screamed and rolled on the ground. His whole body was set ablaze, and he was quickly turned into charcoal. Bang! Another elder was killed, and Wang Yangshuo could not hold on any longer. His body rolled down and he howled in pain. Before his last consciousness was obliterated, he crushed a command medallion. This token wasn't a request for help, but a notification for Wang Yangfeng to retreat. This was a signal that had been agreed upon long ago. If the enemy was too strong, then there was no need to fight to the death. The rest was simple. It became a one-sided massacre. The Phantom King and the Holy Emperor's daughter, Guiying, were simply too easy to kill. It only took them 2 incense sticks worth of time to finish off the 2,000 soldiers. Whoosh! Lu Li put away Phantom Master and Saint King's daughter and then put away all the interspatial rings. He deactivated the divine patterns and rushed toward the Xingyang Palace. He had already noticed that the master of the Xingyang Palace was following him with 4 patriarchs. They had not shown up yet, which meant that they had retreated and were afraid to come up. Therefore, Lu Li flew toward the Xingyang Palace directly, hoping that he could stop them. If he could not kill the master of the Xingyang Palace, the news would spread out easily. If the Shan family was informed, Lu Li would be hunted down again. It had been a long time since the Shan family went after him. It was highly possible that the Shan family believed that he had died in the Cursed Land. Otherwise, the soul chasers would have caught up with him. After a while, Lu Li felt he was not fast enough. He asked the Holy Emperor's daughter to carry him. The Holy Emperor's daughter was fast. Even though she had been weakened in the Cursed Land and had not fully recovered, her speed was still impressive. On his way, when he was about to arrive at the Xingyang Palace, Lu Li saw 5 people ahead of him. One of them looked like young Master Wang Yangshuo. Lu Li squinted. Wang Yangshuo had left for the Xingyang Palace. Wang Yangfeng sensed some noises behind him. He used psychic power to check. His face was clouded. He did not run away. 30,000 miles to the north was the Xingyang Palace. Their families were there. They had nowhere to go. Who are you? Can you tell us what grievances you have with the Xingyang Palace? If we are in the wrong, we will make it up to you. I have some connections with the Ning family. If we can bury the hatchet, it will be good for both of us, Wang Yangfeng said. He was a man who could adapt to circumstances. Otherwise, the Xingyang Palace would not have been able to survive until now. His son was killed, his brother was killed, and so many powerful warriors in the palace were killed. But he could endure it all the same. Lu grinned and said, "You won't know who I am even if I tell you. I have just come back from the Silver Flames Sea. As for the grievances, your son once tortured and killed the daughter of a friend of mine. How can that be resolved? You guys kill yourselves. I will spare the rest of the people in the Xingyang Palace." Kill ourselves? Wang Yangfeng pulled a long face. The death of his son was not a big deal. He had many sons. The death of his brother was not a big deal. He was a cold-blooded man. He never cared about the lives of others as long as he was still alive. Now, Lu wanted him to kill himself? How could he just accept his death? You don't know the Ning family? Wang Yangfeng suppressed his killing intent and said in a deep voice, "My wife is a member of the Ning family. If you kill me, the Ning family will definitely be furious. Even if you escape back to the Silver Flame Sea region, you will still die." Ha 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 ha. Lu laughed. He had figured out the background of the Xingyang Palace. She was just a young lady from a branch of the Ning family. The Ning family was a big family with tens of thousands of young ladies. The number of families related to the Ning family was endless. Making a coat out of tiger skin? Even if she really had something to do with the Ning family, why would Lu be afraid? Lu had just fought with the emperor's family. The Ning family might be an ancient family, but it was nothing to him. Lu said with a sneer, "I am not afraid of the Ning family. Not even the emperor can do anything to me, let alone the Ning family. In short, do you want to die, or will the Xingyang Palace be exterminated?" Charge, there was nothing more to say. Wang Yangfeng shouted in rage and then rushed over. A red broken saber appeared in his hand. The broken saber was glistening and it glowed. One look and anyone could tell that it was not an average weapon. A piece of holy weapon? Lu grinned. It seemed that he could have one more holy weapon shard. This one was a broken sword, which was most suitable for him. Buzzing, he released the Holy Emperor's daughter and Guiying, as well as the Phantom King, while he quickly retreated. One was at the later stage of the Fourth Tribulation, two were at the middle stage of the Fourth Tribulation, and two were at the initial stage of the Fourth Tribulation. Phantom could be killed easily. Lu didn't have to do anything. Boom, boom, boom. Chapter 2432. After killing Wang Yangfeng and the other four, Lu swaggered away. He did not use the teleportation portal because it would be costly to bring so many people with him. Lu flew toward the north. Every once in a while, he would change his appearance. He was fast as well. Along the way, he would use the trace of the Great Path to change directions as soon as he sensed someone. He traveled day and night. He had been traveling for 10 days. Everything had been peaceful. Lu was a bit relieved. He was not afraid of the Palace of Sunday. He was afraid that the Shan family would send soul hunters after him. It seemed that the Shan family thought he was dead. He did not mind the Ning family. Wang Yangfeng's wife was only a young lady from a branch of the Ning family. She was not important in the Ning family. For the Ning family, the Palace of Sun was dispensable. They would not go to war over the Palace of Sunday. Lu took out the map and checked it. After a while, he decided on a mountain, the Mountain of Heaven Tiger. That mountain was more than half a month away from here. It was a large mountain range. Lu Chunlei's tribe should be able to settle down in a random place. It was said that there were powerful beasts in the core area of the mountain range. Therefore, not many people lived there. It was a well-hidden place. Luli had considered the issue of safety. He would ask Blood Fairy to build some powerful runes and some formations of illusion. In this way, even if there were beasts nearby, they would not be attacked. The number of beasts nearby was beneficial to the tribe's growth. Luli would leave some elixirs behind to help the tribe grow. If this tribe still couldn't survive, then Luli couldn't care less. He had so many enemies that he could not take care of the tribe. Those that followed him would die faster. He must go to the Silver Flame Sea as soon as possible. The sooner he left, the safer it would be. Luli did not overthink after he made up his mind. He hurried toward the mountain of Heaven Tiger as fast as he could. The Palace of Sun was overcast with sorrow. The bell tolled. There was only one patriarch left in the Palace of Sunday. But it was not this patriarch who was in charge. It was Wang Yangfeng's wife, Ningyu. A few days later, the bodies of Wang Yangfeng and the others were found and brought back. The murderer was identified. It was an old warrior that had just returned from the Silver Flame Sea and a beautiful lady. The old warrior let out a ghost and a beast. Wang Yangfeng was able to detect this because he had activated a memory crystal before he died and recorded the circumstances of his death. Luli left in a hurry after he killed several warriors. He didn't notice that the jade talisman on Wang Yangfeng's waist was a memory crystal. Old 9, you stay in the Xingyang Palace and activate your divine imprints. If anyone attacks, you have to do your best to defend. 3 days later, Wang Yangfeng's wife, Ningyu, took the memory crystal and the children and left for the Ning family. Back at the Ning family, he brought his children in mourning clothes and knelt outside the Ning family's elder hall. She was originally a young lady of a branch family and didn't have the qualifications to see the Ning family's elders. Only her grandfather had the qualifications. However, her kneeling naturally caused a huge commotion. Someone from the elder hall immediately sent a message down and brought her in. Ningyu didn't cry after entering. She just handed the memory crystal to an elder. That elder used his spiritual force to scan for a moment, and his face turned gloomy. He transmitted the memory crystal to the nearby elders. There were 5 elders on duty in the elders' hall, and after looking at it, all of their faces turned ugly. The crystal of memory recorded everything, including the conversation between Wang Yangfeng and Luli. The Ning family didn't care about the other Ning family members, but the words, "The Ning family is nothing," enraged the Ning family patriarchs. Ancient families had been passed down since ancient times. Many emperors' families had perished or declined, such as Emperor Zi's family. But ever since the ancient times, the Ning family had always been powerful despite their low points. They never really declined. In such an aristocratic family, their children were all very proud. They could die, but they could not allow others to humiliate the Ning family. The more powerful a family was, the more they valued their dignity and glory. They didn't care about the death of Wang Yangfeng and the others. What they cared about was Luli looking down on the Ning family. An old warrior that came back from the Silver Flame Sea looked down on the Ning family. The Ning family could not tolerate this. Therefore, after some discussion, several patriarchs gave out orders to track down Luli. When a super family was in operation, the energy generated was beyond imagination. In just a few days, there were scouts everywhere, searching for Luli all over the place. After more than 10 days, Luli finally realized something was wrong. There were more scouts in the wild. Something must be wrong for there to be so many scouts out of nowhere. Only the Ning family could be so powerful. There were still 7 or 8 days to go before he reached the mountain of Heaven Tiger. Luli had to be careful. He changed his looks constantly and activated the trace of the Great Tao to avoid the scouts. Luckily, the scouts were of low levels. Even though there were many of them, Luli could avoid them easily. The average scouts could not find him. Several days later, he entered the Mountain of Heaven Tiger. There were fewer scouts here because there were many beasts. Luli was careful as well. If he were to fight with the beasts, he would leave traces and be spotted by the scouts. Luli ventured deeper into the Mountain of Heaven Tiger. Inevitably, he ran into a group of beasts after 3 days. The ferocious beasts were roaring from all sides. They were so fast that Luli could not run away. Luli let out the Phantom King to awe the beasts. But the Phantom King didn't work. The beasts kept on coming. When Luli let out the Phantom King, the beasts were shivering in fear, and they all prostrated on the ground. "Let's go." Luli did not dare to start a fight if he could avoid it. He sped up. The deeper he went, the more beasts he encountered. Using the Phantom King, Luli suppressed the beasts along the way and reached the depth of the mountain. "Okay, let's stay nearby." Luli thought about it. He would be in trouble if he went deeper. The beasts here were not strong enough for Lu Chunlei to handle. If he went deeper, none of the tribe would dare to come out. By then, they would be trapped in the tribe until they died. After a while, Luli found a good place. It was a big valley with a pond in the valley. The view was picturesque. There was a group of beasts in the valley. Luli killed them easily with the Phantom King. Blood Fairy set up formations of illusion, trapping and killing. Luli let out the daughter of the Saint King. Lu Chunlei and the others would have a hard time surviving in such a dangerous place without the protection of runes. Blood Fairy was skilled in runes. She could set up some training grounds. As long as they were not ambushed by armies or warriors of the Fifth Tribulation, they would be safe. Blood Fairy began to work quickly. First, she set up a formation of illusion and a formation of confusion. In this way, when beasts came close, they would turn around and go away. The beasts would not notice that there were people in the valley. 2 days later, the formation of illusion and the formation of confusion were ready. Luli let out all the people in the tribe. When they came out, they saw the corpses of the beasts in the valley. They looked at each other speechlessly. The beasts were strong. "I have found a nice place for you." Chapter 2433. A drop of water should be returned with a spring of water. That had always been one of Lu Li's principles. For him, the tribe was pitifully weak. He could have left it alone, but he did, to the end. After 5 days, Blood Fairy had placed 7 or 8 divine glyphs. She also placed some divine glyphs in 2 hidden caves nearby. Luli built 2 teleportation formations so that people in the tribe could teleport out. In this way, it would be safer to go in and out. There were not many powerful beasts in the area, so people in the tribe could get used to the new environment. Luli left many elixirs to the tribe. Of course, they were not advanced ones, but for people in the tribe, they were the best. Killing Wang Yangfeng and the others gave them several interspatial rings that contained many elixirs and materials. Luli gave them all. He also left 10 billion divine stones, so that Lu Chunlei could buy some elixirs for people in the tribe to cultivate. Luli showed Lu Chunlei around the area. Lu Chunlei was satisfied. There were many beasts here, but he could manage them all. Going in and out of the Mountain of Tiger was not a problem. Luli was ready to leave when everything was settled. This was all he could do for them. Later on, he would leave from another direction and lure the Ning family there. Whether the tribe could survive would be up to fate. "Big brother, are you leaving?" Tears welled up in Lu Suer's eyes. She did not spend much time with Luli, but she knew what he had done for the tribe. Therefore, she was grateful to him. Her parents passed away when she was young. She had no siblings. Luli was so kind to her that she regarded him as her brother. "Yes." Luli nodded. He patted Lu Suer's head and said, "I am going to the Silver Flame Sea and the Flying Fire Continent. I have many things to do. If I can come back, I will come and visit you." "Pinky promise." Lu Su'er pointed at him. Lu Li smiled and made the pinky promise with Lu Su'er. Finally, Lu Su'er smiled through her tears. Lu Li patted Lu Su'er's head and told Lu Chunlei something. Then, he drew a formation in the void and opened the golden door. Cultivate hard. Before he left, Lu Li said to Lu Su'er, I hope that the next time you come back, I can become a powerful warrior. Su'er will definitely work hard. Lu Su'er nodded. Lu Li disappeared into the small golden door. Everyone in the tribe saw Lu Li off with respect. For them, Lu Li was like a savior who had given them a second chance at life. Lu Li was flying toward the west. As soon as he came out, he put on the mask and pretended to be the one who killed Wang Yangfeng and the others. He even swaggered past a city. It was far away from the Heaven Tiger Mountain, and the direction was completely different. Lu Li swaggered here just to attract the Ning family's attention. Lu Chunlei and the others would be safe for the time being after the Ning family had mobilized their scouts. Sure enough, not long after, Lu Li was discovered. He also noticed that there were scouts following him. Lu Li flew over and smacked the scouts to death. Then, he flew toward the west. The Ning family soon received the news. The experts of the Ning family were furious and immediately mobilized their experts to the west to intercept them. This time, Lu Li did not stop. He kept flying toward the northwest. He wanted to get out as soon as possible and enter the Silver Flame Sea. After a while, the Ning family realized that they could not kill Lu Li. They felt humiliated. Most of the powerful warriors of the Ning family swarmed out. They mobilized many warriors and many families were mobilized. The unusual actions of the Ning family caused a commotion at the northern part of the Godly Wind Land. The Ning family was one of the super families at the northern part of the Godly Wind Land. Their every move could affect many families. With so many powerful warriors of the Ning family, it was hard for the Ning family to go unnoticed. Lu Li's skill of flying across the void attracted many people's attention. Soon, Lu Li's identity was confirmed. The matter between Lu Li and the Shan family was so significant that the entire Godly Windland was paying attention. The person that the Ning family was after was Lu Li. When the news was confirmed, the entire Godly Windland was in an uproar. Not long ago, the Shan family made an announcement that Lu Li was killed. Elder Jiu and the others died because they accidentally triggered the runes in the Cursed Land. Now that Lu Li was still alive, the Shan family's announcement was a slap in the face. What was more, Elder Jiu and the others were dead but Lu Li was not. What did it mean? Could it be understood that Lu Li detonated the Cursed Land and killed Elder Jiu and the others? Otherwise, how could Lu Li survive such a horrifying explosion? The news about Lu Li was not the fastest to spread. The fact that the Shan family, a family of a great emperor, was a slap in the face spread faster. Average people loved to spread this kind of news because it was earth-shattering. Therefore, in just a few days, the entire Godly Windland had heard about it. How could the Shan family not spread fast when they could laugh at a great emperor's family? The Shan family patriarch was furious. Since Phoenix Queen was not here, he had to mobilize most of the powerful warriors of the Shan family to the northern part of the Godly Windland. They swore that they would not stop until they killed Lu Li. Lu Li was aware of the seriousness of the situation. He did not take any rest. He kept flying across the void, and he would change his direction often so that his enemies could not go through the heavens' tribulation. Admittedly, flying across the void was a powerful skill that could allow him to cross long distances in one go. Lu Li's soul was strong enough that he could fly across the void continuously. Unless he was unlucky and there happened to be warriors of the fifth tribulation nearby, no one would be able to stop him. Lu Li was lucky. The thing was, the Godly Windland was vast and the distance between cities was long. The Shan family and Ning family only had so many powerful warriors. They could not go around the world randomly after they opened the spatial portal. Even if they did, the chances of running into Luli were slim. After flying across the void for hundreds of times, Luli was getting tired. But he did not stop. He knew that if he stayed for half a day, the Soul Chasers could catch up with him with powerful warriors of the Shan family and the Ning family. He was not far away from the Silver Flames Sea. It would take him a couple of days at most. Therefore, he continued to consume elixirs of the soul type and flew across the void. Powerful warriors of the Shan family and the Ning family were enraged. They had mobilized so many powerful warriors to stop Luli, but they could not even catch a glimpse of Luli. The powerful warriors were angry, but there was nothing they could do. Phoenix Queen was not here. If she were, the Shan family patriarch would have asked her to take action. It was true that an emperor hunting down an insignificant warrior would be criticized, but if Luli was not killed, the dignity of the Shan family would be tarnished. Several days later, Luli arrived at the Silver Flames Sea. He flew across the void and entered a vast ocean. Luli was relieved. He had left the godly Windland. The Shan family and the Ning family wouldn't come after him, would they? After all, this was not their territory. The influx of so many powerful warriors would lead to a war. Silver Flames Sea, but Luli was not at ease. As far as he knew, this was the most chaotic area of the third heaven. He had just escaped from the wolves' den only to enter the tiger's den. Chapter 2434. The name Silver Flame Sea region had its origins. There were many volcanoes on the sea. Those volcanoes were different from ordinary volcanoes. The flames they spewed were silver and extremely hot. Hence, this place was named the Silver Flame Sea region. The Silver Flame Sea region was huge. It was 10 times bigger than the Divine Wind continent. It was almost as big as the Flying Fire continent. There was a very strange situation here. Some of the islands here would move. It wasn't a human movement, but a natural movement. It was said that there was a special array here. The islands would change their location from time to time. It was also said that a saint emperor had set up a huge array here. The outside world did not know the real reason. However, it was true that the islands would move frequently. Occasionally, an island would disappear and appear on the other side of the sea region. There were many ferocious beasts at the bottom of the sea. Some primitive islands also had powerful beings. The spirit energy here was very thick. Divine herbs were like ordinary spirit herbs here. Some islands even had spirit energy 10,000 times thicker. Most importantly, there were 3 primitive mystic realms here. They were the strongest mystic realms in this world. There were 4 thearchs in the Silver Flame Sea region. However, they did not occupy the 3 primitive mystic realms. Instead, they set up a rule. Anyone below 10,000 years old could enter. 100 people could enter each time. If they wanted to enter, they had to fight. The winner would enter. This was similar to the rules of the Second Heaven Genius competition. It was also because of the 3 primitive mystic realms that the Silver Flame Sea region was so chaotic. Countless martial artists without great family clans or factions rushed here. They wanted to enter the primitive mystic realms. With so many people, it was naturally chaotic. In addition, there were too many divine herbs and resources here. There were also those supreme great island. All of these attracted countless people to fight for them. There was also another situation in the Silver Flame Sea region. When the Silver Flame volcanoes erupted, they would occasionally spit out some precious crystals or divine materials. Sometimes, a small martial artist would suddenly pick up a crystal and sell it for 100 billion divine stones. There were opportunities and challenges everywhere. There were also many ruins at the bottom of the sea. It was said that there was a Saint Emperor's tomb. Anything could happen in this place. Perhaps a small martial artist could become a supreme expert after spending a few thousand years here. Of course, there were opportunities and challenges. The more people there were, the easier it was to fight. Furthermore, the Thearchs never cared. Even if a clan was wiped out and their children were killed, the Thearchs would not care. Over the years, the Silver Flame Sea region had become the most chaotic region. Even territorial lords might be killed if they entered. Occasionally, you would meet an ordinary-looking old man, but he might be an ultimate old demon. No one dared to guarantee that they would be able to survive here, but if they were able to survive for a period of time, they were either from a great power, or had very strong battle prowess. At the very least, they had the means to protect themselves. When Luli arrived at the Silver Flame Sea, he didn't fly anymore. Instead, he flew toward the northeast. He had done his homework. The first island he would go to after entering the Silver Flame Sea region was an island. Heavenly Flame Island. Shurfeng wasn't confident that he could cross the Silver Flame Sea. Hence, he had chosen the most conservative method, which was to ride a superpower's warship. It was very expensive to ride on a battleship. It would cost at least 100 billion divine stones to cross the Silver Flame Sea. But Luli had to use the divine stone. If he flew over, he would die for sure. Even if he flew across the void, he could still die. Sky Flame Island was the territory of a super faction. It was a faction established by the nephew of a great emperor. It was one of the 5 major factions in the Silver Flame Sea region. Therefore, the great emperor did not explicitly express his support for this faction. However, what was the difference between the faction of the great emperor's nephew and the great emperor's faction? The great emperor did not have any offspring. Luli let out the Holy King's daughter and asked her to fly with him. She could fly as fast as a warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation, much faster than him. 6 hours later, Luli arrived at a small island. He checked the map and was sure that he was not far away from the scorching island. He was relieved. Since there were no pursuers after 6 hours, the Shan family and the Ning family must be afraid to enter the Silver Flame Sea region. Luli was safe for now. "Let's go!" Luli shouted. The Holy King's daughter flew on with him. There was a faint breath of life coming from the Holy King's daughter. She didn't look like a corpse anymore. But upon closer inspection, Luli felt something was not right, especially the emotionless eyes of the Holy King's daughter. Even Luli was frightened. It was true that the Shan family and the Ning family didn't dare to go after Luli. If they were not from a major force, they could go after them. Once warriors from super families entered the Silver Flame Sea region, they would be regarded as invaders. Similarly, warriors from major families of the Silver Flame Sea region wouldn't come to the Wind Continent for no reason. Even if they did, they would greet them and make it clear what they were here for. There was no way to explain the fact that more than 100 powerful warriors had entered the Silver Flame Sea region. Warriors from the scorching island would misunderstand, which could lead to a war. What was more, the major families of the Wind Continent didn't dare to start a war with the super forces of the Silver Flame Sea region. Tens of thousands of years ago there was a war between emperors. As a result, the Wind Continent suffered a crushing defeat and an emperor was almost killed. The emperor of the Silver Flame Sea region said that disciples of major families were not allowed to enter the Silver Flame Sea region. "Let's go back." The Shan family patriarch waved his hand helplessly when he learned from the Soul Chasers that Luli had entered the Silver Flame Sea region. He led a group of warriors to a nearby city. "Send someone to the Silver Flame Sea and offer a high price for Luli's head. Anyone who can bring his head to the Shan family will be rewarded with 1 trillion divine stones and a fragment of a holy weapon." The Shan family patriarch gave the order. Divine stones meant nothing to the Shan family, not to mention the fragment of a holy weapon. As long as Luli could be killed, the price would be worth it. The Shan family could not go in, but they could send someone else to the Silver Flame Sea region and secretly issue a wanted order in the black market. Surely Luli would be killed by the old man over there soon after the reward was sent out. Brother 6, send someone to the Scorching Island. The Ning family patriarch gave the order as well. He said coldly, go to the Scorching Island and issue a reward. Tell them about Luli. Anyone who can bring Luli's body to the Ning family will be rewarded with a fragment of a holy weapon and the position of a city lord. The fragment of a holy weapon was nothing, but the position of a city lord was attractive. Not only would it be an honorable position, but the annual income would also be amazing. As an ancient family, the Ning family would follow through with their words. This was a generous reward. The Shan family and the Ning family sent people to the Silver Flame Sea region at once and went to the Scorching Island. The largest island and force at the southern part of the Silver Flame Sea region was the Scorching Island. Once the news was released at the Scorching Island, it would spread across the southern part of the Silver Flame Sea region. Boom, boom, boom. The Shan family and the Ning family had just set off when Luli was close to the Scorching Island. But Luli was unlucky because he ran into two groups of warriors fighting. Dozens of warriors of the Fourth Tribulation Realm were fighting outside the island. Someone was approaching him. Are they from the Shan family and the Ning family? Are they trying to assassinate me? Chapter 24:35. The two groups were not here for Luli. It had always been this way at the Scorching Island. If there was a conflict, they would fight outside. The Scorching Island would not care how many people died outside. But if they fought on the island, everyone would die. Luli and the daughter of Holy King dived into the sea. However, some people still noticed them. They thought that Luli and the daughter of Holy King were sent by the other side to ambush them. Swish, someone waved his saber. A ray of sword light whooshed toward Luli and the daughter of Holy King. Luli had no sense of loyalty. He asked the daughter of Holy King to fend it off. Boom! The daughter of the Holy King survived the strike and was unharmed. Still, Luli asked Blood Fairy to pretend that she was knocked back while she took Luli into the water. Boom! Water splashed up as Luli and the daughter of Holy King fell into the sea. They dived down at the top of their speed, heading toward the bottom. Luli's decision was correct. Those up there did not pay much attention to them since they had run away. After all, there was a war going on up there. Who would go after two weak warriors? Luli and the daughter of Holy King were not strong. Luli was relieved. He put away the daughter of Holy King at the bottom of the sea and went to the Scorching Island on his own. When he arrived at the bottom of the island, he changed his look and dashed to the island. As soon as he was on the Scorching Island, Luli was noticed. There were warriors patrolling around the island. Luli did not move and waited for them to come. The warriors did not ask for an ID token. They only asked for divine stones. Anyone who wanted to enter the island must pay 1,000,000 divine stones first. 1,000,000 divine stones was nothing to Luli. He handed over the divine stones and received a token. Then, he could go in and out of the island freely. Of course, the token had a time limit. It would be changed every year. That was to say, to stay on the island for a year, he would have to pay 1,000,000 divine stones. How many people were there on the island? Luli guessed at least tens of millions. The Scorching Island was good at making money. Along the way, Luli quickly changed his appearance and found a huge city. It was called the Scorching City, the main city of the Scorching Island. This city was very majestic. It was even bigger than the main city of the Divine Wind continent. Not to mention the other cities on the island, just this city alone was estimated to have tens of millions of people. There were many strange races here and Fourth Tribulation warriors could be seen everywhere. Luli was not in the mood to wander around in the city. He went to a tavern and asked the waiter for some information. After spending tens of thousands of divine stones, Luli got the information he wanted. He immediately went to a castle, where he paid a deposit of 10 billion godstones and booked a ticket to the Flying Fire continent. Every month, a super warship would set off on time. Of course, the people on this warship weren't limited to those who had lost the Flying Fire continent. There were also people who had disembarked midway. Under normal circumstances, most of the people who took the warships were merchants. They transported the divine materials from the Divine Wind continent to the central, western, and northern parts of the Silver Flame Sea region, or even to the Flying Fire continent. After that, they would bring back divine materials. Every time, as long as they could come back alive and nothing happened, they would be able to earn a lot. Merchants weren't that strong, otherwise they wouldn't be reduced to doing business. Powerful warriors could earn countless divine stones by killing people and looting. They didn't have to do something so tiring that they could die at any time. There were 8 more days before the next departure. Luli made up his mind. The most important thing was that no violence was allowed in the Tian Yen city. Otherwise, nobody from the Tian Yen island would respect them. Of course, it would be a different story if it were an emperor. What kind of person was an emperor? Nobody would have the guts to offend him. Luli stayed for 2 days and then moved to another tavern. 2 days later, he moved to another tavern again. At the same time, he sent someone to gather information. 6 days later, he received a piece of bad news. The Ning family and the Shan family were offering a huge reward for his life. The two families' credibility was needless to say. Even though they were from the Godly Wind continent, people in the Silver Flame Sea region would not recognize families. They only recognized divine stones and treasures. Now, many people in the entire Tian Yen city were searching for him. Some people had bribed warriors to check on those who had recently entered the island. The only thing that made Luli happy was that the Tian Yen island didn't send anyone after him. The Tian Yen island was a major force in the Silver Flame Sea region with strict rules. They didn't want to help families from the Godly Wind continent. 2 days later, the battleship departed. Luli changed early and went to the designated location. 2 hours later, a huge battleship arrived. The battleship was like a floating city, making people feel suffocated. On the battleship were warriors in red armors. Flags were fluttering in the wind. On the front of the battleship, there were 2 blood-red characters, Tian Yen. Luli boarded the battleship under the guidance of someone. He took out the token he was given and handed over the remaining 90 billion divine stones. There were 3 floors on the battleship. The top floor was where the escorts lived. Since Luli was a big customer, he was given a separate cabin on the 2nd floor. Luli activated the inhibition formation as soon as he got into the cabin. Then, he used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings. He noticed that there were many cabins on the battleship. There were at least 2,000 cabins on the bottom floor, 500 on the middle floor, and only 100 on the top floor. There weren't many warriors, only 500, and all of them were at the peak of the 3rd tribulation. At the end of the day, these warriors were here to put on a show and run errands. The real escorts should be the dozens of powerful warriors on the 3rd floor. That being said, even with the protection of dozens of powerful warriors, they would have been torn apart if it weren't for the deterrence of the Tian Yen island. More and more people boarded the battleship. There were all kinds of people. Most of them were from commercial groups. Some of them were in groups of dozens and some were in groups of several. More and more people boarded the battleship. Soon, more than half of the 1st floor was occupied. More than half of the 2nd floor was occupied as well. About 1,000 or 2,000 people had boarded the battleship. Many of them shared a cabin with several people. When the Tian Yen island warriors finished checking, another team came from the castle in the distance. Well, there are warriors of the 5th tribulation and 3 of them. Luli felt relieved after checking. The more than 20 people were all powerful warriors. The weakest among them was at the later stage of the fourth tribulation, and 10 were at the peak of the fourth tribulation. The more than 20 people represented a strong force. Usually, not even tens of thousands of warriors could defeat the battleship. Luli also sensed that the battleship had strong runes. The ship should be able to withstand strong attacks. If it were not for the fact that there were so many powerful warriors on the battleship, Luli would have sent Blood Fairy to have a look. The runes here could be learned. "Let's go!" a man who seemed to be a leader shouted. Then, the battleship trembled and flew toward the north. As the battleship moved forward, it sped up. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli realized that the speed of the battleship was acceptable. Even though it was slower than the godly boat, it could match the speed of warriors at the peak of the fourth tribulation. Well, at this speed, we should be able to make the journey in about a year or 2 months. Chapter 2436. The battleship flew close to the surface of the sea. Most people were resting and cultivating in their cabins. Some were drinking in taverns and some were gambling. Only a small number of people were on the deck, looking at the sea around them with excitement and the islands they would pass by from time to time. Clearly, it was the first time for those people to come to the Silver Flame Sea. They were curious about the most chaotic places in the third heaven. The Silver Flame Sea was indeed chaotic. In just over a day, they saw a fight going on near an island and 2 powerful warriors were fighting. The scene was shocking. From afar they could see that the sky was torn apart, the waves were stirred up, the wind was blowing, and the noise could crack rock. Even though Luli was in closed-door cultivation, he was alarmed. He walked out of his cabin to take a look. Unfortunately, he was too far away and all he could see were 2 shadows flashing by. Fifth Tribulation warriors, they must be 2 of them. Many people were alarmed. They walked out of their cabins to watch. For one thing, they were worried that they would be implicated. For another, they wanted to watch the fight. Maybe they could learn something. However, the battleship was flying too fast. After the time for a few breaths, the 2 warriors could no longer be seen. Some people had to go back in embarrassment. Luli was about to go back and consume more crystals when someone suddenly shouted, "Look, there is black smoke. Maybe the Silver Flame volcano is erupting." Wow, I heard that when the Silver Flame volcano erupts, something good will come out. I wonder if the battleship will stop so we can go and take advantage of it. Maybe a piece of crystal is worth tens of billions of divine stones. I think so. Warriors of the Scorching Island will go and see if there are any treasures. Some people who went back to their cabins came out again. Many people were discussing in excitement. Luli looked over. After a moment, he realized that the battleship had adjusted its angle and was flying toward the Silver Flame volcano. Well, I will try my luck later if I can. Luli nodded. He had almost used up all the divine stones he had. Most of the 100 billion divine stones were given by the Een family. Otherwise, he would have to go across the Silver Flame Sea on his own. Later, the battleship will stop for half a day. When the eruption is over, we will set off immediately. You can go and try your luck. If you don't come back after the eruption, we will not wait. A dignified voice rang out. It was the big shot of Scorching Island. When the people below heard this, they all became excited. Even some merchants began to secretly make preparations. The voice continued, "Once you leave the warship, you will no longer be under our protection. If there's someone over there, or if you fight amongst yourselves, we won't care if you die." The experts of the heavenly Scorching Island poured a bucket of cold water on them, causing many people's desire to snatch the treasure to diminish significantly. Of course, there were also those who felt that their combat strength was not bad and did not care. The battleship flew on. They were getting closer and closer to the volcano. Luli and the others could see a huge volcano standing on the surface of the sea. Black smoke billowed out from behind the volcano. There were silver flames coming out as well. Clearly, it was about to erupt. Someone's here. Many people were standing in midair near the volcano, and some were hiding in the sea. Luli and the others could tell with psychic power that there were at least over 1,000. Many of them were strong. Luli sensed at least 2 warriors of the 5th tribulation. Seeing so many people, some of the people on the battleship who had originally wanted to go and get some money gave up. Seeing the approaching battleship, the over 1,000 warriors looked over nervously. But they were relieved to see the words, "Heavenly Scorching," on the front of the battleship. The warship stopped 500 kilometers away. 10 people flew out from the warship, bringing along 200 soldiers as they flew over in a grandiose manner. Clearly, the warriors of the Heavenly Scorching Island wanted to try their luck as well. Let's go. Let's go with the lords of the Heavenly Scorching Island. Whoosh, 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 about 100 or 200 warriors flew out from the battleship. Many others saw this and flew over as well. In the end, 400 or 500 warriors flew over. Luli was tempted, but in the end, he chose to stay. The situation was unclear. He didn't want to lose his life over some treasures. Boom, boom, boom. An hour later, the volcano suddenly trembled. The sea was tumbling and the smoke at the crater was thicker. The flames rose to a height of thousands of feet and then died back. The temperature of the silver flames is so high. Luli was 300 miles away and he could feel the heat. How hot would it be when he was closer to the volcano? What if he was enveloped by the silver flames? It was unimaginable. Bang! All of a sudden, the volcano trembled violently again. Then, silver lava sprayed out. Even the space nearby was curled up. The scorching heat spread out. White mist rose from the seawater. Much of the seawater was evaporated. There are treasures! Someone shouted. Then, many warriors dashed over and danced around in the sky, trying to grab at some crystal-like treasures that came out from the silver flames. One person grabbed a crystal stone, but his hand suddenly emitted black smoke. It had actually been directly incinerated, and the flames continued to burn up his arm. This martial artist gritted his teeth, took out a saber, and chopped off his arm. Idiot! That is the heart of the silver flames. How dare he try to grab it? Ha ha ha, that idiot! He thinks it is a treasure. Someone sneered. Many people did get something. The 10 important warriors of the Heavenly Scorching Island all had something. They all got one or several pieces of brown or black crystals. Some of the warriors that flew over from the cabins found treasures. They were all happy and put them away at once. Bang! A moment later, the silver flame volcano erupted once again. This time, it spewed out even more silver lava, and even more crystals were inside. Everyone moved, avoiding the silver flames and grabbing the few types of crystals that flew out from within. Whoosh, 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 more people in the cabins took action. They flew out, ready to pick up some treasures. Luli was tempted as well. Even though there were more than 1,000 warriors outside, none of them acted rashly. None of them attacked. They were collecting the crystals based on their own abilities. Maybe the powerful warriors of the Heavenly Scorching Island had gone over and those warriors didn't dare to offend the Heavenly Scorching Island. Let's go. Luli thought for a while. In the end, he couldn't stand it anymore. He flew over. However, just as he flew out of the cabin, he felt his heart skipped a beat. He noticed that more than a dozen psychic powers in the cabin had locked onto him. 3 of them contained killing intent. If it were not for the fact that he had activated the trace of Tao, he would not have sensed it. It was normal for someone to check him with psychic powers when he flew out of the cabin. But why were there 3 divine wills showing killing intent towards him? He didn't offend anyone. Whoosh, regardless, Luli didn't dare to go out. He flew back and murmured, "Never mind. There are so many powerful warriors. I won't get anything good if I go. He said that to lower the guard's guard. Secretly, he was using the trace of Tao to sense where the three warriors were. He thought quickly. Chapter 24:37. Luli thought about it for a while and then flew out again. He seemed to be blinded by greed and wanted to take a gamble. But his attention was not on the silver flame volcano. He was secretly using the trace of the great path to sense what was behind him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! From behind him came three noises. 3 people flew out. Without any hesitation, Luli turned around and flew back to the battleship. He murmured again, never mind, don't go. I can die if I am not careful. He didn't even look at the 3 of them, but he could sense their situation. The 3 were clearly in cahoot. One was at the peak of the 4th tribulation, one at the later stage, and one at the middle stage. The 3 threw Luli a glance. Luli could sense anger in the depth of their eyes. But they didn't go back with Luli. Instead, they dashed toward the volcano. They pretended nothing was wrong and didn't look at Luli. They must have confirmed my identity. Luli was sure of this. Just now, when he tried to fly out, the 3 followed him. Clearly, they wanted to kill him outside the battleship. After that, they would turn around and go directly to the Windland to claim the reward. They were going to the Silver Flame volcano because they didn't want to alert the enemy. Luli was troubled. He was not afraid of warriors at the later stage of the 4th tribulation. But the one at the peak of the 4th tribulation was strong enough that the daughter of a saint king might not be able to defeat him. If Luli were to fight recklessly, he might die in the hands of the 3. Luckily, the battleship is safe. They don't dare to fight here. This was the only thing that Luli felt lucky about. Just now, he used the trace of the Great Path. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died if the 3 suddenly attacked him. Bang, the volcano was still erupting. Every now and then, some crystals would be spat out. The warriors there were having a lot of fun. There had been no fights. It was all based on one's ability and luck. Countless amounts of silver magma spilled out, and the nearby sea was floating with silver magma. Black smoke and white fog covered the sky and the earth, making it look like hell. All of a sudden, there came a sound of surprise. Then, a ray of black and golden light flew out. A warrior nearby tried to grab it. Just as Xiao Qin grabbed that cultivator, a black shadow flashed by, and that cultivator's head exploded. He was killed instantly. The black shadow grabbed the black and golden light in his hand and revealed a joyful expression. He was about to flee into the distance. However, several figures in the vicinity rushed towards him and attacked at the same time. That late-stage 4th tribulation expert was instantly killed again. Boom, boom, boom. The few of them began to get chaotic. Following that, more people joined the fray. For a moment, the scene became extremely chaotic. Fortunately, the experts from Heavenly Scorching Island did not join the fray. Otherwise, it would be even more chaotic. Why did they suddenly start a war? It seems like they're fighting for some treasure? I know, it's flying phoenix gold, one of the important materials for refining Emperor armaments. A small piece is worth 100 billion divine stones, it's priceless. No wonder, a battle suddenly broke out. Look, someone died again. The cabin suddenly became lively. Some of the people who had flown out had returned because they were afraid. It was absolutely safe on the warship. There were more than 10 experts guarding the warship. Most people would not dare to attack the Heavenly Flame Island's warship. Whoosh, in the end, that black and golden crystal fell into the hands of a warrior of the 5th tribulation. That warrior dived into the ocean and disappeared. When that warrior was gone, many others left as well. Whoosh, whoosh, the powerful warriors of Heavenly Scorching Island came back with their teams. The passengers on the other warships flew back as well, fearing that they would be killed. Luli saw that the volcano was still erupting. He was confused why people had left so early. What? Luli took a look. Even though the volcano was erupting again, not many crystals were coming out. Only 1 or 2 crystals were coming out every now and then. Since the silver flame volcano erupted, there is nothing good left. So, let's go. Someone nearby said, and Luli suddenly understood. He sensed that the 3 who wanted to kill him had come back. But they didn't even look at him. They went directly into the same cabin. The 3 of them had the appearance of middle-aged men, and their faces were unremarkable. They looked like 3 ordinary merchants, and there was nothing special about their attire. Are they from an assassin organization? Luli wondered. Usually, only assassins would behave like this. The top assassins were inconspicuous. The 3 were experienced. They didn't even look at Luli. If it were not for the fact that he sensed killing intent, he wouldn't have paid any attention to them. Whoosh! After a while, the warship moved forward. Luli went back to his cabin. At the same time, he built some divine patterns in the cabin before he began to consume the elixirs. Luli had made up his mind. As long as nothing went wrong, he would stay in the cabin to consume the elixirs and study fundamental principles and dragon manipulation skill until they arrived at the flying fire continent. On the warship, the 3 would not make a move. There were warriors of the 5th tribulation on board. If they dared to make a move, they would be killed by the powerful warriors of Heavenly Scorching Island. Luli had many elixirs with him, enough for him to cultivate for over a year. After consuming elixirs for over a year, his body would be dozens of times stronger. If he could master the dragon manipulation skill, he wouldn't have to be afraid of warriors at the peak of the 4th tribulation. The warship flew on steadily. Along the way, they encountered many battles. The Heavenly Scorching Island was prestigious. Nobody dared to attack the Heavenly Scorching Island's warship. That being said, if there were large-scale battles ahead, the warship would take a detour. 1 month. The warship had been flying for a month. They had run into at least hundreds of battles along the way. There were 3 large-scale battles involving more than 10,000 people. The warship stopped several times, all for the eruption of the silver flame volcanoes. Powerful warriors of the Heavenly Scorching Island would not miss the opportunity to take advantage of the situation. That being said, the powerful warriors of the Heavenly Scorching Island would not rob others of their crystals, and they would never fight with others. As a matter of fact, it was not only the Heavenly Scorching Island. The other 4 forces were the same. They would not get involved in the battles at the Silver Flame Sea for no reason or bully average warriors. Warriors of the Silver Flame Sea would not offend the 5 forces for no reason. They had come to a mutual understanding. The 3 who wanted to assassinate Luli had been in the cabin all this time and never came out. Maybe they wouldn't come out if Luli didn't show up. The warship stopped twice along the way. Some people got off and some boarded. Today, the warship stopped at a huge island. Dozens of people got off and more than 100 boarded. That girl is so beautiful. Well, she is strange. Why do I feel like I am fascinated by her the moment I look at her? Don't talk nonsense. There is a warrior of the 5th tribulation with her. She might be a young lady of a superfamily. Be careful. Most of the men on the deck were attracted by a beautiful girl who suddenly boarded the warship. Not only was this woman extremely beautiful, but her temperament was also extraordinary. Her eyes were especially beautiful, and there was a kind of magical power that could deeply attract people. What was more, this girl was not cold. She was smiling as if she was smiling with everyone. She was seducing people in silence, making many young men's hearts beat faster and excited. Chapter 2438. The woman's life aura didn't feel like that of a young girl, but it wasn't old either. As for her aura, it felt very strange. Sometimes it felt like this woman was in the early stage of the fourth tribulation, but sometimes it felt like she was in the late stage. The woman was very beautiful. She was tall and had 2 long legs, a small waist, a plump buttocks, and a pair of towering breasts. She had a round oval face and watery eyes. Her nose was very delicate, and her lips were very alluring. She was a beauty that no one could find a flaw in. Her temperament was also ever-changing. After she boarded the ship, she didn't return to the cabin. Sometimes she would stand on the deck and look at the distant sea region. She would have a faint smile at the corner of her mouth, and she was so beautiful that it made people intoxicated. Sometimes she would go to the tavern alone and leisurely taste the wine in the corner. Sometimes she would take out an ancient scripture and read it quietly. At night, she would often sit on the deck at the back, quietly sitting cross-legged like a blooming epiphyllum at night. She was so beautiful that no one dared to approach her. She never spoke to anyone, nor would she allow anyone to get close to her. She had a guard with her, a fifth tribulation cultivator. This cultivator almost never left her side. He stood nearby like a block of wood, stopping anyone who wanted to get close to her. Fire Rose. This was the nickname given to her by many people on the ship. This woman often liked to wear a pink palace dress. She was as beautiful as a graceful rose, but she had thorns and didn't allow anyone to approach her. That was why she was given this nickname. Even though Fire Rose never bothered with anyone, her arrival made the battleship have another beautiful scenery, which made many young men look forward to it. When Fire Rose went to the tavern would immediately be filled. When she went to the tea-house, it would also be filled quickly. When she went to the deck to enjoy the breeze, the surroundings would be filled with people. When she sat on the deck at the back, there would be many people accompanying her. This mysterious woman always had a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. She gave people the feeling that she was very amiable and easy to approach. However, she actually had a kind of indifference that kept people 1,000 miles away. Many men liked to conquer this kind of woman. Especially a few young masters from great clans, they would show themselves in front of her almost every day. Fire Rose didn't say anything. She was always alone and there were always people accompanying her. However, it made people feel that she was exceptionally lonely, especially when she was quietly watching the sea at night. Many men couldn't help but hug her in their arms, giving her warmth and protecting her. The addition of a beautiful woman on the battleship disturbed the men on the ship. Luli and the others didn't know that Luli had never gone out. Time flew by. Soon, 4 months had passed. The battleship had been on the move for a long time. For the first time, Luli stepped out of the ship. He was a little frustrated. Over the past 4 months, his spinning dragon technique and divine sound law had not improved at all. He had consumed a lot of elixirs and his physical strength had been improved. Luli didn't feel like a thing. Was that he was of have been wasted. Lu had taken of energy. He understood the principle that going too far was as bad as not going far enough. If he focused on a certain matter, he might end up becoming a demon after getting stuck in a dead end. Lu. As for of was he of was. For. After Luli came out, he went straight to the tavern. He wanted to have a drink and relax. And Lu fire. Of man. He Lu of. The journey was boring. Many of them were drunkards. How much liquor could they sell? He heard that there were not only taverns on the battleship, but also tea-houses, theaters and even brothels. But there were only 7 or 8 girls. They were not the prettiest either. Still, the business was good. It was rare for him to relax, so Luli didn't think too much about it. He drank his wine and listened to the chatter of the people around him, trying to find out what had happened recently. "Brother, let me tell you something. Yesterday, I was enjoying the breeze on the deck and Fire Rose walked by. She smiled and nodded to me. I almost bumped my head into the wall." "Bah, don't brag. Fire Rose smiles at everyone she sees. She nodded to you. Why don't you go to heaven?" "Right. Fire Rose was drinking with me yesterday. I toasted her from afar and she drank with me." "Bah, shame on you. She didn't even look at you." Luli listened for a while. There were dozens of people in the tavern. Most of them were talking about this Fire Rose. Luli felt bored after a while. They were talking about a girl, which he was not interested in. He knew his own situation. Even if a girl were to flirt with him or even offer herself to sleep with him, he wouldn't be interested, let alone flirt with a girl. Instead, he would be on guard. Rustle, rustle, suddenly there came some footsteps. Then, a girl in a pink dress walked in. As soon as she walked in, the entire tavern seemed to be lit up. Phew, phew, Luli heard that many people in the tavern were breathing faster. Some people were staring at her. Someone was pouring wine and didn't even notice that the wine was spilling out of the glass. Luli glanced over and stared at her. This was an instinctive feeling, a man's instinctive desire and love for a beautiful girl. Something is wrong. Soon, Luli calmed himself down. He moved his eyes away and his heart skipped a beat. He felt the dragon's soul was glowing. This meant that his soul was under attack. Just now, he only looked into the girl's eyes, but his soul was moved. It meant that the girl used a soul attack. Is she here to assassinate me as well? Luli put up his guard. The girl didn't pay much attention to Luli. She sat in a corner by herself. Her fifth tribulation protector was with her. She ordered a goblet of yellow wine and drank by herself. Fifth tribulation protector? Luli was taken aback. If this girl was here to assassinate him, then he would be in big trouble. He had a chance to fight against a warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation. But once the fight started, he would die for sure. He had no ability to fight back. Luli sat in the tavern for a while. He noticed that neither the pretty girl nor the fifth tribulation warrior made any move. Was it because they didn't dare to make a move on the battleship, or were they not here to kill him? Luli left. He secretly used the trace of Tao to sense the two. They didn't pay attention to him at all. He walked out and noticed that it was getting dark. The moon was beautiful tonight. The stars were sparse, and the breeze was gentle. The sea was surging. The entire area looked gentle and beautiful under the moonlight. Let me sit on the deck. Maybe I can learn something by looking at the sea. Luli walked to the deck at the back. He sat in a corner, closed his eyes, and used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings to see if there was anything. Rustle, 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 he sat for a while. He heard some footsteps and smelled something nice. That enchanting girl came over. But she didn't approach Luli. Instead, she walked to the other end of the deck. Just like that, she sat down cross-legged and stared into the distant sky, lost in thought. Chapter 2439. If it was a blessing, it was not a curse. If it was a curse, he could not avoid it. If the lady and the old man were really here to kill him, then it would be pointless for him to hide in the cabin. Warriors of the fifth tribulation could crack the divine patterns and kill him in an instant. Luli didn't leave. Through the trace of Tao, he sensed something was not right. There was no killing intent from the two. The lady's eyes were still blurred. She stared at the sea in the distance, lost in thought. If the two were not afraid of the scorching island, then they could kill Luli at any time and run away as soon as possible. If they didn't have the courage to do anything on the battleship, then what was there to be afraid of? Luli figured it out. He didn't stand up and go back. Instead, he sat with his legs crossed like an old monk in meditation. Gradually, more and more people were sitting around. But they weren't here to meditate. They would look at the lady every now and then. Most of them were young men. Clearly, they had ulterior motives. After a while, Luli was relieved. Maybe the lady was not here to kill him. She had been staring at the sea in the distance by herself. She had mixed feelings. There was reminiscence, nostalgia, and sadness in her eyes. It had to be said that this woman was very alluring, especially her misty eyes. They were like two beautiful stars that could attract the hearts of all men and make them sink into them, unable to extricate themselves. She is a powerful soul warrior, Luli said to himself. He tried to sense the lady's realm. Like the others, she was at the initial stage of the fourth tribulation and then at the later stage. He could not tell. Luli sat with his legs crossed for half the night. The lady turned around and went back to her cabin. As soon as she left, many young masters left as well. Finally, Luli could calm himself down. He stared at the sea, lost in thought. He spent the whole night gazing into the distance. Luli woke up at the break of dawn when the sky in the east began to brighten. Dawn. Staring at the ray of light in the distance, Luli's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have grasped something. But when he tried to grab it, he couldn't. Continue to sit. Luli was a bit excited even though he didn't know what he was touched by. Since he was touched, he must continue to study. There would be a break of dawn every day. There would be a chance. Luli continued to sit here with his legs crossed for an entire day. At night, that fire rose came again. She also stood in the corner, staring into the distance in a daze. He stood there for half the night. Fire rose left and Luli quieted down again. He sat there until dawn. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and stared at the light of dawn. His heart was pounding again. However, just like last time, Luli's heart stopped pounding as the sun shone down on the ground. Luli wanted to grab it, but he couldn't. Luli was not in a hurry. He went back to his cabin to consume the elixir. When night fell, he went back to the deck. Fire Rose came as well. She stayed for half the night before leaving. Luli sat with his legs crossed, waiting for the break of dawn. On the third day, he still couldn't grasp that feeling. On the fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, almost every day was the same. During the day, Luli would consume the pellets and at night, he would go to the deck. Every day, he would be at the left corner of the deck, while the Fire Rose would be at the right corner. Half a month later, Luli almost wanted to give up. He couldn't get it for half a month, maybe never. Every night felt like a waste of time. On the 16th day, that Fire Rose didn't leave in the middle of the night. She just sat there. Luli didn't notice her. These days, Fire Rose came every day but Luli didn't even look at her. Whether this woman was here to kill him or not, Luli didn't want to have too much contact with her. Beauty was a source of trouble. He couldn't even protect himself now. How could he be in the mood to hook up with a pretty girl? Not to mention that this pretty girl was so powerful and she seemed to be of noble status. She was not someone he could hook up with. It was getting late at night and there were fewer people on the deck. During this period of time, there were fewer people surrounding Fire Rose. Perhaps they all understood that it was impossible for them to woo such a peerless beauty. The girl didn't talk to anyone. She was smiling on the outside but inside, she was cold. Even though many people were around her, they were just trying to catch a glimpse of her. There were only 3 men on the deck. One was Luli and the other 2 were young masters. They were talented and handsome. One of them was at the later stage of the fourth tribulation and the other at the middle stage. Their temperament was good as well. They must be young masters of big families. One of them was cultivating nearby and the other was drinking on the deck with a jug of wine in his hand. He was acting like a playboy, trying to attract Fire Rose's attention. However, Fire Rose only glanced at him from the beginning to the end. He was so depressed that he drank for the whole night. Luli opened his eyes before dawn. He stared at the east. His entire being was attracted by the eastern sky. At this moment, he wouldn't even notice if someone were to attack him. There was a ray of light coming from the east. Lu Li's heart was pounding again, just like before. That being said, when he tried to trace it and explore it, he couldn't find the core. It was as if there was a paper window that prevented him from seeing the real secret. Buzzing, right at that moment, Fire Rose, who had been quiet all this time, suddenly waved her hand. The surface of the sea trembled. Then a drop of water floated up and came into Lu Li's sight. The drop of water flew between Lu Li and the ray of light. The ray of light went through the drop of water and dispersed. At that moment, Lu Li felt the entire world was lit up. His pupils contracted, and then he opened his eyes abruptly. His eyes were filled with the glare. I get it. I finally get it. Lu Li was overjoyed. At that moment, he had grasped the thread of movement in his heart. He felt enlightened and he had grasped the core. At that moment, he understood. The day when he mastered the dragon reading skill was not far away. He was absolutely confident that he could master the dragon reading skill. He closed his eyes to digest for a moment. When he was sure that nothing would go wrong, he opened his eyes and looked at the beautiful lady in the corner. Even though he was attracted by the ray of light, he had been using the trace of Tao. Naturally, he could sense what Fire Rose was doing. He was well aware that the reason why he could understand the dragon reading skill was all thanks to this beautiful lady. She just waved her sleeve and splashed up a small drop of water, but it had solved a big problem for him. It was not until now that Lu Li was completely sure that this lady was not here to assassinate him. She just did something casually, but it had solved a problem that had been bothering him for a long time. This lady was more powerful than he could imagine. For someone so powerful, killing him would be as easy as killing an ant. Why would she try to assassinate him? Lu Li strode over, bowed with respect and said, "Thank you, Lady Qi, for your guidance. I am grateful." Chapter 2440. Fire Rose paid no attention to Lu Li. She just nodded and left with the warrior of the fifth tribulation. She looked like a mute who couldn't speak. Lu Li bowed to Fire Rose again. This might not be a big deal for Fire Rose, but for him, it was a great favor. He was grateful. Ha ha! The playful young man next to him sneered and said sarcastically, "This is a novel way of picking up a girl. Too bad it doesn't work either." Lu Li smiled and ignored the jealous young master. He turned around and went back to the cabin. He must seize the time to further understand what he just learned. Back in the cabin, Lu Li activated the divine patterns and the inhibition formations in the room. While consuming the pellets, he entered the dreamland to concentrate on the dragon skill. Theoretically speaking, when he mastered the dragon skill, his body could be strengthened by 30 times. Even though it was only for a short period of time, how powerful would it be? The Purple Emperor had relied on his shocking divine arts to suppress many great emperors. Now that he had a chance to learn Emperor Z's amazing skill, how could Lu Li not be excited and work hard? Lu Li was in closed-door cultivation, but it was still the same outside. Every day, Fire Rose would stay in the tavern, drink tea or listen to plays. Every night, she would go to the deck and stand by herself. She always had a smile on her face, which made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. But deep in her bones, she was cold and unapproachable. She didn't talk to anyone after she boarded the ship. She didn't even say anything when she ordered drink. It was the old man next to her who did the talking. The battleship moved on, stopping from time to time. Occasionally, there would be an eruption of the Silver Flame volcano. The battleship would stop and warriors of the Scorching Island would go to collect some treasures. Warriors of the Scorching Island would go down the ship to collect some treasures. Warriors of the scorching island wouldn't care, even if they died in front of them. Sometimes there would be some conflict, but nobody dared to attack warriors of the scorching island. Warriors of the scorching island, on several occasions, were attacked and more than a dozen were killed. This was the rule of the scorching island. Warriors of the Silver Flame Sea all knew about it. The battleship would stop from time to time. There would be people boarding and disembarking. That Fire Rose stayed on the battlefield. Every time, she would wander around the tavern or on the deck. She was a beautiful sight on the battleship. Soon, another 3 months passed. The battleship arrived at the center of the Silver Flame Sea. Today, the warship was docked on a huge island in the middle. This island was immobile and also one of the largest islands in the Silver Flame Sea region. It was the territory of one of the 5 major factions, the Wu family. The Wu family was a great emperor family. The great emperor of their family was very strong and was very famous in the third heaven. Back then, they became famous because they killed a great emperor, Yang. People called him Yang Di, so the great emperor who was killed was naturally Purple Emperor. This island was called Yang Di Island. It was one of the islands with the densest spiritual energy in the Silver Flame territorial waters. There was also a primitive mystic land on the island. Of course, this primitive mystic realm was not exclusive to the Wu family. The Wu family did not occupy this mystic realm. The Yang to dragon to Yang heaven to up to the heaven and Yang. And a to of to Wu. The heaven with warrior of to him. With by to the is to. Young Master Wu was immediately attracted by Flaming Rose the moment he arrived. He stuck to Flaming Rose like a fly. However, Flaming Rose completely ignored him. Young Master Wu was still a gentleman and did not dare to act recklessly. On the battleship, he must have some scruples. The bodyguards he brought with him didn't dare to do anything. At night there would be an interesting scene on the deck. Fire Rose stood on one side and the Wu family young master on the other. Their warrior of the 5th tribulation stood next to them like 2 pieces of wood. The others didn't dare to come closer. The Wu family young master wouldn't be polite to them. The battleship moved on. Luli had been cultivating. He was about to master the dragon skill. Nothing was more important than this. Even if the Silver Flame volcano was erupting and treasures were spewing out, Luli wouldn't care. The improvement of his abilities was more important than any treasures. So what if he had a Saint King's divine weapon to improve his abilities? He wouldn't be able to exert his power. He might not even be able to use it. I have made it. A month and a half later, Luli opened his eyes in joy. He was so excited that he was short of breath. His heart was pounding as if he was drunk. He wanted to have a try right now. How strong would his physical strength be when he activated the dragon skill completely? But he didn't. Once he did, his chi and blood would be horrifying. By then, many people would be alarmed and the powerful warriors of the scorching island would misunderstand him. Plop! Luli lay down on his back and soon fell into a deep sleep. Due to the fact that he had been studying the bordering dragon skill, he had spent a great deal of energy. He was exhausted and needed a good rest. Boom! He slept for 2 days. Luli didn't wake up naturally. He was alarmed by a strong killing intent. Before he could do anything, the battleship trembled and then exploded. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Among the sawdust, more than 1,000 people flew up. Many of them were shocked as they checked with psychic power. Powerful warriors of the scorching island were ready for a fight as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Who are you? How dare you attack the battleship of the scorching island? Are you declaring war on the scorching island? Powerful warriors of the scorching island looked at the space in front of them on the left. Just now, there was a shadow of a fist that was so fast that it shattered the battleship in an instant. Luckily, there were runes on the battleship that protected it, or else many people would have been killed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! From the distance came three noises. Following that, three people in black robes, and their looks were indistinguishable. They stood in midair 300 miles away from the others. One of them sneered and said, "We are here to kill warriors of the Scorching Island. The rest of you move aside. We only kill warriors of the Scorching Island. If you don't want to die, piss off." The more than 1,000 people on the battleship looked at each other, speechless. Someone dared to challenge the Scorching Island in the Silver Flame waters? The three of them were bold enough to fight against so many powerful warriors of the Scorching Island with just the three of them. But the three of them were hiding. It seemed that they were afraid to reveal their identities. They only dared to intercept the battleship of the Scorching Island. Many businessmen were troubled. They had spent so many divine stones and now they had to fly away on their own? The divine stones were not a big deal. What was more, if they were in danger, they would all die. Luli pulled a long face. Only half of the time had passed. He should be at the center of the Silver Flame waters by now. There were three people on the battleship ready to assassinate him at any time. Now was the time for them to do so. Guys, this is a problem of the Scorching Island. Please go to the Dragon King Island nearby. There, the Scorching Island branch will give you an explanation. Chapter 24:41. As soon as the warrior from the Scorching Island said this, they dared not to stay any longer. The three mysterious warriors were too powerful. The least of the three was at the fifth tribulation. The one who spoke was so powerful that others could not tell his realm. It was highly possible that he was at the peak of the fifth tribulation or even the sixth. It made sense. Since the three dared to attack the battleships of the Scorching Island, they must be ready to challenge the dozens of powerful warriors here. If the three were not out of their minds, then they must have something up their sleeves. They even felt they could kill all the powerful warriors here. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh! Teams of merchants flew away. Since the warrior from the Scorching Island had given his instructions, the Scorching Island would make arrangements for them when they arrived at the Dragon King Island. They would either pay with divine stones or arrange for another battleship to escort them. Whoosh! That Fire Rose left as well. She took out a chariot with her escorts and flew toward the north. The young master of the Wu family didn't mind what was going on here. He took out a chariot and went after Fire Rose. Let's go. Staying here would definitely not end well for him. Furthermore, it would be easy for the three mysterious experts to misunderstand and think that he was in cahoots with the people from Heavenly Flame Island. If that happened, he would be killed. Luli was traveling with a group of people. It was a large caravan with more than 30 people. Not only that, there were more than 10 other people who were traveling with them. Luli thought it would be better to have more company. Whoosh! 3 people flew over. They were the ones who wanted to kill Luli. The 3 pretended to fly with Luli. One of them was at the peak of the 4th tribulation. The team was happy to have the 3 as companions. As I thought, Luli was not surprised by this result. He was not too afraid now. He had mastered the dragon manipulation skill. His abilities had been enhanced and so had his confidence. The only one he was worried about was the warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation. He didn't think much of the other 2. After he used the dragon manipulation skill, he should be able to stand the attacks from the warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation. Together with the daughter of the Saint King, they could kill the warrior. The other 2 would be under no pressure. Also, if he could stand the attacks from the warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation, he could fly away. Therefore, he was not worried. The group of people quickly flew away, and soon, they were hundreds of thousands of li away. Soon, rumbling sounds could be heard from behind. Clearly, the battle had begun. With so many experts fighting, the scene would definitely be very frightening. Luli had been secretly guarding against the three people behind him. The three people didn't pay attention to him. Instead, they were discussing the battle behind them and the identities of the three mysterious people. Who are those three people? The Island Lord of Sky Flame Island is Little Brother Yu's nephew. Anyone who dares to make an enemy of Sky Flame Island would be making an enemy of Emperor Yu. I'm guessing it's some superpower. Moreover, this superpower must have a great emperor standing behind it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so bold. I guess so. The Heavenly Flame Island has been so overbearing in the Silver Flame Sea region. They have long since offended many people. It is normal for a major faction to be dissatisfied with them. However, this should be a warning. Otherwise, they would have attacked Heavenly Flame Island long ago instead of intercepting the warship. A superpower? A great emperor was standing behind him? Could it be the great emperor that just entered the Silver Flame Sea region? He wanted to suppress the Yu Emperor and gain some benefits from it? Divide the territory? I don't know. Let's not talk about this. The more we talk, the more we think about it. If the great emperor hears about it, we will all die. While the others were discussing, Luli was not curious at all. There must be a big conspiracy behind this. It was not something people of his level could be involved in. Since it had nothing to do with him, why should he ask? They flew for more than 2 hours when they saw an island ahead. Someone suggested to sit there and take a break. At the same time, they should think about what to do next. There was still a long way to go before they reached Dragon King Island. If they were to fly there, it would take at least several days. They could run into powerful warriors at the Silver Flame Sea region at any time. If they were to run into a powerful warrior who was greedy for money, they would all die. Killing in the Silver Flame Sea region was common. Even the dozens of people in the team were on guard against each other. They were afraid that someone would suddenly kill them. After all, there were 2 caravans here. Naturally, the caravans would carry a large number of materials and treasures. They flew to the island and began to discuss. Someone suggested to wait until the fight was over. If the Scorching Island won, they could go back and go with the Scorching Island. Someone suggested not to go to the Dragon King Island. Instead, they should go to a nearby island where there was a city. They could stay in the city and take a ride on a large battleship. Someone else suggested to go to the Dragon King Island. Luli didn't mind. He was even ready to fly away. The Dragon King Island was a bit far away, but he believed it wouldn't be long after he flew away. "Big brother," one of the 3 suddenly said to Luli, "why don't you say something? What do you think we should do?" Luli had disguised himself as an old man. His breath of life could not be sensed. Luli smiled to himself. Finally, the 3 could not wait any longer. Luli said with a smile, "I don't have any opinions. Let's go. We will go wherever we want to go." "Brother, I have something to talk to you in private." That person sat down with enthusiasm. Pointing to the distance, he said, "Let's go over there. Speaking of which, we have met before." Luli pretended to be surprised. The person talking to him was at the later stage of the 4th tribulation. So, the person was trying to drag Luli to somewhere nearby and kill him in a sneak attack? The other 2 also had their psychic powers locked on to Luli. Luli knew that he could not fly away at the moment. Since one of them was ready to take action, Luli decided to kill this person after some thought. After that, he could ignore the warrior at the middle stage of the 4th tribulation. He would be fine as long as he could kill the warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation. Sure. Luli pretended that he was not alarmed at all. He flew to the distance. That person came over at once and flew side by side with Luli. While flying, he said with a smile, "Brother, do you remember me?" Luli frowned and said, "I think so. Where did we meet?" "North of the Godly Wind Land." The middle-aged warrior said with a smile, "Brother, think about it. Half a year ago." The middle-aged warrior was vague. Luli pretended to be in deep thoughts. They flew to the seaside and into the deep sea. Luli had been activating the trace of Tao. Seeing that the man was not showing any killing intent, Luli left him alone and flew on. 300 miles away, the man suddenly stopped and said with a smile, "Brother, let me show you something. If you like it, name a price. If not, then forget it." "They are going to do it." Chapter 2442. Boom! With a muffled sound, the man put on an armor and a helmet. Lu Li's fist landed on the man's helmet with a muffled sound. That being said, the force made the man see stars and feel dizzy. Before the man could come back to his senses, Lu Li had punched again and again. In the time for one breath, Lu Li had punched more than 30 times. Whoosh! 2 men flew over from the island. The other 2 assassins had been watching the 2 with psychic power. As soon as Lu Li made his move, the 2 realized what was going on. The assassin caught by Lu Li came back to his senses as well. He took out a glaring dagger and stabbed at Lu Li's chest. Bang, bang, bang! Lu Li kept on punching. The man's armor began to crack. The armor was good, but Lu Li's strength was too strong. The runes inside were destroyed and the helmet was cracked. Boom! The man's body was not strong. After several rounds of punching, his head cracked and he died immediately. Blood splashed on Lu Li's face. Bang! The dagger stabbed at Lu Li's chest with a glow. However, the assassin felt he was stabbing at a piece of iron. There was a muffled sound. Not only did the dagger not go in, but it was bounced off. The other 2 who rushed over saw the dead body in Lu Li's hand, the blood on his face, and the bloodthirsty eyes of Lu Li. The 2 of them felt their hearts skip a beat. They knew very well how powerful that man was. It was not his strongest move, but it was still lethal. How come he could not crack Lu Li's defense? Had Lu Li's immortal body been perfected? Charge! The warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation was filled with killing intent. He couldn't care less. He shouted and charged at Lu Li from the left and right with the other warrior at the middle stage of the 4th tribulation. What is it? Many warriors flew up from the island and checked with psychic power. Wasn't Lu Li here to talk with someone? Why did he suddenly make a move? Why did he kill someone? Whoosh whoosh, the 2 were not far away from Lu Li. They rushed over at once. The warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation had a string of Buddhist beads in his hand. The beads were covered in runes and were filled with energy. Clearly, it was a piece of treasure. Lu Li could tell with psychic power that the runes on the beads were different from the ones he saw now. The beads must be old. Whoosh! He threw the Buddhist beads at Lu Li. However, the Buddhist beads dispersed and expanded to the size of a fist. The 25 Buddhist beads turned into 25 iron balls and smashed at Lu Li from all directions. The other warrior took out a pagoda, which grew in size and floated above Lu Li's head. The glow from the pagoda enveloped Lu Li. Lu Li felt he was slowed down. He raised his iron fist and smashed it at the beads that were flying towards him like lightning. Every time he hit a bead, there would be a dull sound. The surrounding space would tremble and ripples would appear. Bang, 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 the beads were smashed away by Lu Li one by one, but they flew back to him again and again. Inevitably, Lu Li was hit by the beads. He felt suffocated by the force, but it was not enough to injure him. The warrior at the peak of the 4th tribulation and the middle stage of the 4th tribulation each took out a weapon, a spear and a saber. They attacked Lu Li one after the other. Hiss! The spear created a shadow with a shrill noise. The spearhead was still covered in blue flames. The spear was aimed at Lu Li's back. The warrior at the middle stage of the fourth tribulation kept hacking at Luli with his saber. Surges of saber energy rolled over like waves, shaking the sky and filled with killing intent. The weaker warrior's attack was intimidating, while the more powerful one's attack seemed to be average. This was clearly their strategy. The real move was the one at the peak of the fourth tribulation. The 25 beads were smashing at Luli and the pagoda was spinning fast. Average warriors would have been in a panic under such a variety of attacks, and would not know which one to defend against. Luli was not at all panicked. In his eyes, the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation and the spear were the only ones. He could ignore the other attacks. The only thing on his mind was the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation. Luli thought quickly, coming up with different strategies. Let's do it. The warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation was too powerful. It was impossible to kill him without paying a price. The reaction of a warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation was freakishly fast. Luli might only have one chance. Go to hell. Luli took out a shield in one hand and a saber in the other. His armor appeared as well. He stared at the warrior at the middle stage of the fourth tribulation. He shouted and hacked at the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation, releasing the Slayer's ghost cut. Swish, the spear behind Luli suddenly sped up and shook. The blue flames on the spearhead glowed and were absorbed into the spear. Then, the spear was stabbed at Luli's back with white flames. Bang, bang, bang! The armor on Luli's back cracked. Then he felt a sharp pain and a smell of burnt flesh. His back was pierced by the white flames and the spear went in as well. But Luli's body was strong. After the white flames went through some of his muscles, they died out. The spear only went in for 3 inches. In the end, the spear reached Luli's ribs and could not go any further. This was the moment. Luli had been waiting for a chance. The shield and saber disappeared. He grabbed the spear with one hand and the heaven separation bead glowed in his other hand. The Phantom King came out. Roar, roar, the Spectre King let out a roar, and a violent aura and a tyrannical beast aura spread out, suppressing the peak of the fourth tribulation. But the Phantom King roared and reached for the head of the warrior at the middle stage of the fourth tribulation. Buzzing, Luli's heaven separation bead glowed again. The daughter of Holy King came out. She did not have a strong energy, but she was fast. She slapped at the abdomen of the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation. At the same time, Luli dashed forward and pulled forcefully with his hand. The warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation was distracted by the Phantom King and the daughter of the Saint King, so he could not react in time. Naturally, he was pulled forward by Luli. Bang! Bang! The Phantom King's claw landed on the head of the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation, while the daughter of Holy King slapped at the abdomen of the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation. The warrior's head was fine. He was protected by the helmet. But a surge of force came from the abdomen. It shook the divine core of the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation. Even his divine energy was disturbed. Bang, bang, bang on the other side. The attack of the warrior at the middle stage of the fourth tribulation landed on Luli as well as the Buddha beads. But Luli was not harmed. Luli ignored the warrior at the middle stage of the fourth tribulation. He shook his hand. The warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation was flustered because his divine energy was disturbed. He lost his grip on the spear and was knocked away by Luli. Luli put away the spear and dashed over like a ferocious tiger. He did not attack. Instead, he dashed to the back of the warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation and entangled the warrior with his hands and feet. The warrior at the peak of the fourth tribulation must have strong defensive skills. It would be difficult for him to kill the warrior. Luli's job was to stall the warrior and let the daughter of Holy King finish him off. Bang, bang, bang. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.